It's the most recognizable playing surface in college football, the blue turf at Boise State. Today, the Broncos look for a bounce-back win, hosting the Colorado State Rams. And hi, everybody. Alex Faust and Evan Moore here with you. It is not often that Boise loses on the blue turf, and it's even rare that they lose a blowout on the blue turf. That's exactly what happened last week to BYU. They took it on the chin, but the good news, their quarterback, Hank Bachmeier, is back in the lineup.
Look, there's no question they were shorthanded in a number of positions last week against a really good BYU team. But the excitement tonight in defending this blue turf and defending their home field comes from the return of that guy right there. After an outstanding freshman year last year, had a great opener this year, missed the last 2 weeks, and boy, are they excited to get him back on the football field tonight.
Now, there's a bit of a mini quarterback controversy in Colorado. Shane O'Brien, the Nebraska transfer, didn't start the opener for the Rams, but came in last week and delivered a big win.
Yeah, he didn't start the opener, but he was outstanding last week. He was efficient. He took advantage of the turnovers that his defense was able to generate. Got a number of playmakers on the outside, and Dante Wright and Trey McBride. Look for him to try to repeat that tonight and build some stability on that offensive side of the ball, because there is excitement right now in this program under Steve Addazio after getting their first win against Wyoming last week.
Last week, Colorado State took home the Golden Boot in that big rivalry win over Wyoming. Is there another signature win in offing first-year head coach Steve Addazio? Yes, the border war was claimed by the boys in green and gold. Looking for another big win, taking on Boise State as Mountain West play resumes for the Broncos. FS1 College Football is sponsored by Rocket Mortgage. Boise, Idaho, and the blue turf, Albertson Stadium. And running out onto the field, leading the Broncos out, senior Dante Harrington. Carrying the Dan Paul hammer, goes to a player who made the biggest hit on special teams the previous week. Harrington's parents, both military veterans, and they led a voter registration drive for his teammates this summer. And of course, with Veterans Day yesterday, salute all those who have served. Chilly night, but relatively temperate for this time of year in Idaho. And there is the man of the hour for the Broncos, who are facing a bit of a COVID challenge at the moment. They were undermanned last week, and this week, 9 players out of the lineup due to positive tests. Another bunch out due to contact tracing. There's Brian Harsin, head coach of the Broncos. This has been a tight season. This is the third game in 13 days for Boise State.
Yeah, he's not wild about these short weeks, huh? It's the first time in program history that this team has seen back-to-back short weeks. So 2 weeks ago they play on a Saturday, then last week they play on a Friday, and then this week on a Thursday. So 2 back-to-back short weeks.
And Steve Addazio, whose club ended a 4-year losing streak in the border war. Somewhere in there is Steve. There he is, former head coach at Boston College. Had a lot of success there, and he's taken a lot of the cultural traits from that program. Hard-nosed football, both sides, and he has applied it here. The first week, maybe a little bit shaky for this Colorado State team, trying to figure themselves out, but last year, that was a big win over Wyoming, 34-24. Colorado State won the toss. They will receive. And this is Thomas Panunzio, who will return the opening kickoff for the Colorado State Rams, who have never beaten Boise State. 0-9 all time. They came as close as overtime in 2017 in Fort Collins. Broncos kick it off, and we are underway in Boise. From the 4-yard line, Panunzio gets out to the 18 before he is gang tackled. And Patrick O'Brien will go to work, the Nebraska transfer.
Yeah, we mentioned in the open, he did not start week 1. It was Todd Centeio that was in there starting. He started last week, Patrick O'Brien did, and had a really nice game. You see the numbers right there, 255 yards, 2 touchdowns, took advantage of all the turnovers that his defense was able to generate. Nice, efficient day. They're really pleased with how he's played so far this season.
Completing about 70% of his passes this year, 3 touchdowns. And he'll start from the 18. O'Brien First play from scrimmage. The pass may have been tipped. It was awfully close before falling incomplete in front of Dante Wright. We take a look at the Colorado State lineup. There are 3 transfers from Boston College that Steve Addazio brought with him to Fort Collins on the offensive line. But they will see a lot of 22 and 85. Dante Wright and Trey McBride. Here is 22, Dante Wright. He's tackled in the backfield. Tackled for loss by Riley Wimpy, one of the captains for the Broncos, a loss of 4. So we take a look at the Broncos on defense.
Yeah, this is a thin group up front. They got a number of guys out on the defensive line. Some solid linebackers as well. Sam Whitney, their stud linebacker, plays a little bit of tight end, or excuse me, defensive end as well. And Kekala Kaniho, outstanding nickel player that can pretty much play every position on the field. Keep an eye on number 28.
3rd and 13 for O'Brien as he drops back, tried to connect with McBride on the screen pass. It's tipped at the line of scrimmage. It's incomplete, and a 3 and out for the Rams.
I think there's a positive start so far for the Boise defense. The group that had trouble getting to the passer last week. A lot of new faces up front on this front 7. You see there, Divine Obichari is able to mess up the timing of the screen pass for Colorado State, trying to generate a screen. A little off on the timing there. Boise State's able to disrupt it.
Ryan Stonehouse, the All-American, one of the top punters in the country. They're hoping he doesn't, and he gets blocked! Taken in for the touchdown! Avery Williams! We were talking to the Boise coaches, and they explained that as much as he returns kicks, they love seeing him on this exact play.
Yeah, one thing you got to keep in mind with 26, he will return punts, but if he's not deep to return a punt, there's a reason, because coming off the edge, this is one of the best special teams players on this roster, and they put him on the edge for a reason, especially when they see stuff in film that jumps out. He flies off the edge, gets his hands out, and makes a key block to get Boise going here as they try to bounce back from the BYU game a week ago.
52 seconds into the game, and the second blocked punt of his career results in 7. What a start for the Boise State Broncos on the turf. Well, Avery Williams was the Mountain West Conference Special Teams Player of the Year last season. But it wasn't necessarily for blocked kicks. He is one of the top kick returners in the nation, but they love him in that role as well.
Well, if you're Colorado State, too, you got to know where he's lined up, right? If he's lined up on the edge of the formation, he's obviously capable of getting in there blocking a kick based off his speed off the edge. Colorado State's not aware of it. He goes untouched off the edge to get the block. So outstanding play by him. But for Colorado State, you just got to be aware of where he is in the football field.
Well, what a jarring start for the Rams, as this is taken out by Panunzio, and again, it's a short return. Special teams tackle made by the Broncos and DJ Schramm. There is a flag on the return. And we'll hear from tonight's referee, Timothy Davis.
During the return, holding, number 53, return team. Half the distance to the goal, first down.
Well, the first drive for Colorado State was disrupted quite a bit.
Yeah, a guy you're going to hear us mention a lot today is Kekala Kaniho, the nickel player. He's one of the hybrid players on defense. Plays both safety, nickel, and the linebacker position. Got great instincts, too. You see him right there sniff out the screen, get his hands in the air. He's a guy we're going to talk about quite a bit today. Just a ball player. Has a great sense of what the offense is trying to do. Certainly one of the most valuable players on the Boise State defense.
And he was just named one of the finalists for the Campbell Trophy, the academic Heisman. He can do it all. This will be a pickup of 2 on first down for the Rams. But boy, he is so well regarded by his coaches. First team All Mountain West last year, 61 tackles, and his numbers will continue to get better this season if his early play is any indication. Second down and 8. And this will be maybe a yard. No gain officially for Marcus McElroy, and Colorado State's getting bottled up early.
Yeah, you're going to see Colorado State really do all they can to try to establish the run today. It's something Coach D'Adazio really wants to establish. It's in his blood. He's an offensive line coach. He feels his offensive line overall has played well over the course of the year. He wants to see his backs just get a better sense of holes and direction, keep their eyes up, and improve their vision.
On third down, O'Brien gets away from the first wave, but not the second, as he tried to take off, and Jalen Walker brings him down. It's another 3 and out.
So Patrick O'Brien is a pocket passer, right? The best thing for you to do is keep him in the pocket and collapse that pocket, as you see right there by Shane Irwin, the defensive end coming off the edge. Patrick O'Brien's strength is not mobility. You want to keep him in the pocket, force him to keep his eyes downfield. And if Boise can continue to collapse that pocket like that, they're going to cause some problems for him tonight.
All right, no Avery Williams to worry about this time, as Stonehouse gets it away. And they're going to try to make something out of this with a little cross-field pass. And Canijo lost the football. Colorado State has it. What a chaotic start to this game. Trey McBride with a special teams play. Avery Williams, who is as adept as they come in returning punts and kicks.
Well, Colorado State knew tonight they were going to get Boise State's best shot. This is a team that's got a chip on its shoulder. It's angry how things went last week, and we're already seeing the energy so far on special teams. The throw across there to Kekala Canijo, and what a tackle. It was Trey McBride, too, that got his hand in on the football, correct, and then recovered it towards the end. That's their star tight end as well on defense. Right here, you see towards the end, 85, getting in there, making a play on special teams.
Whistles here before the snap. Wow. I'll talk about a gift for Colorado State. This was about to be a short field, but the fumble from Canijo. And gives the ball back to Patrick O'Brien and the Rams. Coaching staff not thrilled with what happened there. Let's see what the situation is. I think they've just picked up the flag here. Yeah, they have.
Yeah, I think Adazio's not happy he slowed them down there.
Draw play. And tackled in the backfield is Wright.
Yeah, we've referenced it already today. When Colorado State has the football, to win a game like this, I think you got to feature Trey McBride and Dante Wright. They're playmakers on offense. Those guys have to have big games. And Boise State defensively, we mentioned a minute ago, dominating the line of scrimmage is going to be important for them. A lot of new faces up front on the defensive line. It's a group that's kind of licking their wounds from a week ago against BYU. It's important they win at the line of scrimmage today, like we're seeing right here.
Oh, shovel pass. And Ajon Vivens will barrel ahead for 3. This is interesting because it's a team that, despite the win last week, they only rushed for 87 yards. They let O'Brien carry them as the game went along.
Yeah, that was the difference in the game, is what he was able to do from the pocket. This Colorado State offense has not really developed a consistent run game yet this year. But again, they got a lot of short fields after turnovers their defense created, and they took advantage of them. That's how you get a big win like that.
On third and long, O'Brien gets rid of it. It's nearly picked off. Boy, under duress, hit as he threw. Tyreek Jones nearly came up with a diving interception.
And so far, Boise State defensive coordinator Jeff Schmedding has done an outstanding job of changing things up on the front and confusing the pass protection unit for Colorado State. This group outside, too, Riley Wimpy, their leader defensively at the linebacker position. Was an all-conference selection a year ago, leading tackler this year. Hits him as he throws.
Stonehouse gets this away. It is Williams from the 42. And Williams gets out past midfield. Our first look tonight at Hank Bachmeier, who returns to the lineup for Boise State. 8-1 as the starting QB in Boise. All right, that's good sight to see for Boise State fans. Hank Bachmeier, who hasn't played since the season opener against Utah State. True freshman last year. guided them to a solid season and his second start this year.
It was 7-1 last year as a true freshman. Had a great opener this year against Utah State. Missed the last 2 weeks, and boy, they missed him badly last week.
Missed the last 6 games last year with injury, including the Mountain West Championship. Start with a short field, and the give on first down to Andrew Van Buren, who picks up 3. As we take a look at the Boise State offense there without George Holani. Didn't play against BYU last Friday, Mountain West Freshman of the Year. So it'll likely be Andrew Van Buren who picks up some of the slack on offense.
Yeah, without George Holani, the playmaker on this offense, number 2, wide receiver Khalil Shakir. You see him here lined up in the backfield as well. He plays all over the offense. The objective, get him in matchups, get him the football out in space. He's a playmaker.
C.T. Thomas in motion. And on and around, gets close to the line to gain. Be 3rd and short as we take a look at the Colorado State defense. Cameron Carter, one of the key linebackers, with Mohamed Kamara. Colorado State team that has allowed 334 pass yards per game. Their opener was supposed to be against New Mexico, and their challenges in getting scheduled, so this is only their 3rd game of the year. So be a first down on the carry for Van Buren as he picks up a couple extra yards after the initial contact.
Alex, it's interesting with this Colorado State defense. It's kind of trying to find out, as we see Van Buren here get the first down, is trying to find out really who they are, right? Because last week, 6 sacks against Wyoming. They held Wyoming to 4 for 15 on 3rd down. They were disruptive. They produced key turnovers early in the game to let their offense build a lead, but they've allowed a lot of yards this year. So you take away those turnovers, and there are concerns. So I think tonight's a great barometer to find out really where they are against one of the conference's best.
Bachmeier rolls out and connects with one of his wide receiver targets, Stefan Cobbs, the sophomore from Texas. 12-yard gain.
See just a little play action rolling out to his right. Bachmeier already looks comfortable. You go back to last week, true freshman Kane Finnegan getting the majority of those reps. And it's not that Cade Finnegan played poorly. It's just he had kind of that game anxiety comes up. And thought his mental clock, like you guys mentioned last week, had been a little too fast, bailing out of the pocket quicker than I think he should have. And they'll get some stability at that position tonight. And hey,
Bachmeier complete to the perimeter, and Khalil Shakir, his first catch of the night, a 5-yard pickup.
Yeah, this time we see Khalil Shakir on the outside. You'll also see him line up in the slot and in the backfield. And I think he's most lethal when he's in the slot, lined up against safeties and taking shots downfield. You see Cade Finnegan there, who got the majority of the reps last week after Jack Sears went down.
10-yard penalty. Replay, first down.
Majority of those reps last week for Cade Finnegan after Jack Sears went out. But going back to Khalil Shakir, it's a matchup thing with him. They love getting him on safeties, man-to-man situations, taking the top off the defense. Last week we saw him get 2 deep touchdowns and an onside recovery in special teams, all in a matter of 10 seconds.
So
he is a
holding
playmaker for them.
So holding penalty on the offense. Take a look at the right tackle.
Right up here. Right tackle. Gets beat inside by Brandon Hickerson-Rooks. Just got to let him go when that happens.
So it's a 1st and 20 now. And this is aired out towards the end zone, but incomplete, intended for Billy Bowens. 2nd down.
Take a shot there on the corner, Marshawn Cameron. A little bit of hand fighting going on there. I didn't see Marshawn Cameron's eyes go back to the quarterback either, but that's probably a good no call. Marshawn Cameron had a great week last week. Pick 6 to get Colorado State's first points against Wyoming, and then it caused a fumble the very next possession. He was active and disruptive all game long for the Colorado State defense.
2nd and 20 now, as Bachmeier gets rid of it quickly, and they get a bunch of the penalty yardage back on the completion to Van Buren, who is 2nd in the Mountain West in rushing touchdowns coming into the night. Pick up a 14.
Nice job getting the ball out quick to Van Buren. We're already seeing a little bit of a difference tonight, philosophically, offensively, for Boise State. Last week we saw him in a lot of 2 tight end sets with John Bates and Riley Smith. We've seen more receivers on the field tonight. keep an eye on those tight ends as well. Riley Smith and John Bates, two big parts of this offense.
Boise State in the red zone here, and they get a big third down completion. On 3rd and 7, they feed it to Mac Griffin, the sophomore.
And look, with George Holani out, this rhythm passing game that we're seeing so far, quick throws, quick identification by Hank Bachmeier, this is critical for this offense to get its rhythm going, unlike last week. So having him back in the saddle and this rhythm passing game we've seen early has been key for this Boise State offense.
Boise State 8 for 8 touchdowns when in the red zone this year. Draw play, and Shakir battles for 2 on first down. This is a Boise State team. You know, last week, it's interesting how they would respond. Feeling good, ranked 21 in the country, facing a top 10 opponent, big time stage, and you fall flat. I'd say first couple minutes here.
And look, Boise, as we're talking to Brian Harsin, head coach of Boise, Boise also knows too that, you know, there's people may sense there's blood in the water, right? This is one of the top teams in the conference for a decade, or the top team in the conference for a decade, and they know people out there think, oh, is this our chance to go up and get a win against Boise? And they are determined to protect this blue turf.
I got a third down here. Bit of a quarterback crisis with Bachmeier out. Jack Sears not dressed tonight. They've used 4 different quarterbacks this season, but if they can get through this wave, the way conference play sets up, they will not face Nevada, which by and large looks like the other top team in the league this year. San Diego State always dangerous, but as we had movement both sides up front before the snap. See who this is on.
Offside, number 94. Defense causing a reaction by the offense. 5-yard penalty, third down.
Let's see, 94 there, yeah, right in the middle. Causes movement, coming to the neutral zone.
Devin Phillips, who is a veteran on that defensive line. 23 career starts. Shaves a little bit off. A yardage to go. 3rd and 4. 10th play of the drive. Bachmeier to the end zone, and it's a Boise State touchdown for Riley Smith. Just his 2nd career start, and the converted quarterback has the touchdown.
Well, they bring the receiver in short motion. It's zone defense, and they just get Colorado State turned around. The corner ends up running inside with that receiver that came in motion, and Riley Smith runs the corner route, and there is nobody within 10 yards of him.
They are excited to see what he can do. Redshirt sophomore. Caps off the 10-play, 48-yard drive. And Boise State, this is the first time they've had the ball tonight, but they're already up 14 points. Thanks to the special teams play at the beginning. Bachmeier connects to Smith. 14-0 Broncos.
Going back to the 5-yard Hank Bachmeier touchdown, you see here they bring Khalil Shakir in short motion, and what that does is condense the field and turn them into kind of a bunch formation. And you'll see right here, both tight ends kind of go on a switch release, and it confuses these linebackers here. They get their eyes in the backfield, and Riley Smith goes untouched right past his defender. Well-designed play, and some confusion there on the Colorado State defense.
All right, this will be the best starting field position for Colorado State after the touchback here. And they'll start at the 25. There was no winner last week, so this Sunday, Fox Bet Super 6 is giving you another chance to win $1 million of Terry Bradshaw's money. You can play for free right now. Download the Fox Bet Super 6 app and make your picks for Sunday's games for a shot at $1 million. 5 total yards for Colorado State on 9 plays.
It's been tough so far offensively for them. They've struggled up front to protect the passer. Obviously, they haven't run the football either. But like I said, when this thing started off, Alex, it's important for them to try to get Trey McBride and Dante Wright in matchup situations. Trey McBride is one of the best tight ends, not only in the Mountain West, but in the entire country. And he's a matchup problem for anybody they face. They got to find a way to get the ball to him.
Jet sweep. Here's Wright. Bounces off a tackle, and there's the first big play for Dante Wright tonight. He moves the sticks for a first down.
Yeah, again, they're going to use him in a number of different ways, coming across the formation in that jet sweep. They're blocking out in front of him for positive yards. And his ascension this year has been interesting. He did not play in the first game. They've only played 2 games so far this year. He had 10 catches in the second game. And we can't forget Warren Jackson leaving the team headed to the NFL after the Mountain West was postponed. It's been a big opportunity for Dante Wright.
Yeah, Warren Jackson preparing for the draft now. And this is a team that has a new head coach, has a lot of new personnel in different places. Obviously, COVID throws a wrench into things. Their first game was wiped off the calendar.
Yeah.
So they're kind of behind the 8 ball in a whole bunch of different departments.
You see there Marcus McElroy coming off the field, grabbing his shoulder. He and Ajon Vivens, the other running back, who was recently a receiver, just moved to running back, kind of split carries back there. So that's something to keep an eye on.
Play action, and O'Brien just scampers out here. It'll set up a 3rd and long.
And the other issue here with McElroy coming out of the game like that, Ajon Vivens, again, a former receiver, switched to running back in camp. There's some burst to him at the running back position, but he struggles in pass protection, right? He's a former receiver, just hasn't played much running back. And so in obvious passing situations like this, at 3rd and 8, the running back playing that pass pro responsibility is critically important. So expect Boise State to keep an eye on that on defense.
O'Brien, incomplete. Intended for Trey McBride. That's the first line drive throw we've seen from him. The Denver Post had a great line. They described his arm as a bazooka, and he let this one fly.
Yeah, keeps his eyes downfield, just throws it a little bit behind Trey McBride. You saw there Sam Whitney dropping into coverage, forced him to throw behind him just a tad. I think Patrick O'Brien might have been trying to stop him in that zone hole as well, and Trey McBride kept running and just not on the same page there.
Well, they get a 1st down, but once again, a rather uneventful possession for Colorado State. And it's the Broncos who are in control early, up by a pair of scores. Boise State back on offense. The more you know about the Broncos.
When Boise has the ball, look, we know why. They were shorthanded last week. We know what the problems were, right? Working with a freshman quarterback. Hank Bachmeier's back. Get back to playing Bronco football like we've seen already here today. For Colorado State's defense, it's trying to maintain those disruptive tendencies we saw last week. 6 sacks, holding Wyoming to 4 for 15 on 3rd down, taking the ball away. Have to find a way to generate that here tonight.
Start from their own 26. Bachmeier faking the shovel pass, steps up, launches downfield, and is this caught? It is! What a catch! And Stephon Cobbs has a chunk play for the Broncos.
He's got man-to-man coverage across the board. This time Stephon Cobbs against Rashad Ajayi. Doesn't leave much room against the sideline. Not much places for Hank to throw the football. Outstanding catch and getting those feet in for a completion.
36 yards. And already Boise approaching midfield. Flag comes in here.
And Boise wanted to move quickly and not give a chance for a review here because it was close. This explosive play along the sideline.
There is no foul for false start. Replay page.
Unfortunately.
The previous play is under further review.
Yeah, you look here, the process, right? Control, body part down. In this case, controlling it all the way through the fall, through the ground. That ball looked like it was moving just a tad. I thought it was moving while he was up off the ground in the process of falling, and then once he actually hits the ground as well. But you'll see here.
All right, Dean Blandino is with us. And, Dean, you've seen a couple angles. What are you thinking?
Yeah, the issue here is going to be control, and it's initial control. When does he gain firm control of the football? He doesn't have it yet. Now, when he brings it in, looks like that right foot is out of bounds. And then you have that movement at the end. To me, this looks like it's incomplete.
Yeah.
And it's which part, I guess, is bigger for you here? Surviving the catch or that he never really secured it in the first place?
I think the initial control is always the issue. When you look at a catch, it's 3 parts. It's control, the body part, and then having it long enough to do something with it. Here he's going to the ground, so he has to maintain that control all the way to the ground. But to me, it's that initial control. When does he get it? That's going to be the issue here.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, he didn't leave himself much room on the sideline, right? I mean, oftentimes as a receiver, when you're running that go route, You teach these guys, you want to stay like this right into inside the numbers, that far from the sideline, give the quarterback a place to throw the football. So really, that's an outstanding play by Rashad Ajayi, pushing him all the way to the sideline. See that right hand? There's no room for Stephon Cobbs to come down with that football. And the sideline, as a defensive back, the sideline is your best friend, right? It's another defender. And so every DB coach, every corner coach in America is teaching their guys, use that sideline to your advantage. And there, Stephon Cobbs just has to give his quarterback more room to throw the football.
All right, so we shall see upon further review if replay booth and folks downstairs agree with Dean Blandino.
Stephon Cobbs is locked in there, man. Looking at that replay board. I got bad news for you, buddy.
Yeah.
He wants that reception, though. Look at those eyes.
Well, if it stands, we don't think it will. That would be a career long. Excuse me, that would be a season long. Yeah. Career long is 44. Would be a 36-yard catch based on what we've seen and what Dean has seen. And I think this gets wiped off the board here. Either way, a first shot play for Boise that we've seen tonight, and that's, I think, why they love what Bachmeier brings to the table. Ken started as a true freshman.
Yeah, again, it was pretty simple look across the board. There was two safeties high, man-to-man on the outside, taking a shot when those opportunities present themselves. I think we're going to see it to Khalil Shakir more than we'll see it to Stephon Cobbs, but keeping the defense honest and utilizing those other weapons is obviously key, and Hank Bachmeier looks good doing it.
Talking with Eric Keesaw, the offensive coordinator, the other day, and he said on Bachmeier, the biggest area of improvement, his footwork, so that he could time his feet on routes run. I thought that was a really interesting comment.
Yeah, there's so much, like in a passing game, there's so much syncing up between footwork and timing and receivers' routes, right? Like 3-step drops, 5-step drops, even don't see them as often today, but 7-step drops. Those are done in concert with the depth of receivers' routes, right? So in theory, assuming it's, tight ends don't run routes as deep as receivers because they're not as fast as receivers, right? So in theory, when guys get to the top of their route, a quarterback should be coming out the back of his drop, taking a hitch, letting the football go. So timing is critical, and then obviously for a quarterback, getting his feet underneath him and being able to deliver the football it's a skill. No question about it. The best do it extremely well.
After review, it's an incomplete pass. It's going to be 2nd down and 10 at the 27-yard line. Position 5.
All right, so Ronald Ford in the replay booth got it right.
Yeah, as Dean mentioned here, there's two issues here. Initial control there. He doesn't secure it until he's actually out of bounds, and then also doesn't survive the fall to the ground. That ball pops out there as well, hits the ground and moves. Easy call for an incompletion.
All right, so it's 2nd down at the Boise 26. Wiping away a 36-yard catch. And Boise changing up their personnel. If you didn't join us at the top of the show, George Holani, their star running back, is out of the lineup. Bachmeier sails this over the head of Khalil Shakir. Incomplete pass, 3rd down coming up.
Well, Colorado State electing to bring pressure there as well in the middle of the defense, and the running back Andrew Van Buren does a nice job stepping up, taking that off of Hank Bachmeier. Throws just a little bit wide on the outside. The protection so far for an offensive line that only had one returning starter this year and left tackle John Ojukwu, who played right tackle last year. So far it's been solid against this Colorado State defense that got to Wyoming quite a bit last week.
Boise was 7 of 18 on 3rd down conversions last week against BYU. As Bachmeier is sacked by Scott Patchen, the transfer from Miami. His 3rd sack of the season ends the Boise State drive. It's a 3-and-out.
Well, you watch Scott Patchen there in the middle of the defense. Ends up getting by the center and chasing down Hank Bachmeier. In a way, I think that's kind of a covered sack because that ball's got to come out right now, and his eyes are to the sideline. He feels the pressure from Scott Patchen, but the coverage down the field was key for Colorado State on that play. Big stop on 3rd down.
Gavin Will, redshirt freshman, gets this away. Their usual punter, Joe Velasquez, unavailable. And a fair catch near midfield for Dante Wright. Well, Boise State's defense has held Colorado State at bay so far.
Oh, this is a shorthanded defense as well. Number of guys up front that are out. Their best pass rusher, Dimitri Washington's out for the season, but they have been disruptive so far. At the linebacker position as well with Riley Wimpy and Sam Whitney. It's a group I think that's changed the look quite a bit for Colorado State's offensive line. They've caused some confusion for Patrick O'Brien. And I think given how many guys are out up front, Keegan Freeborn, Scaly Gahon, successful night so far.
And for a team that has the worst mark at FBS football in run defense, this is a 9-yard gain on first down for Dante Wright. Take a look at defensive coordinator Jeff Schmedding here. A lot of that was skewed by the 415 yards allowed against Air Force earlier this season.
Well, and also what BYU did last week too, right? And he's been frustrated about the lack of turnovers as well. They only got 1 turnover caused on the year, and he knows that comes from being disruptive in the backfield, and they just haven't been able to do that enough. So tonight, that's been a big positive for them.
There's O'Brien throwing on the run. It's caught by Dante Wright downfield near the 10-yard line. And O'Brien with a 34-yard connection to Wright sets up Colorado State in the red zone.
So before the game, in case you didn't believe us that they wanted to get Dante Wright the football, I think we're seeing it quite a bit. He's playing virtually every position on the field. You see there, just runs the switch release with the outside receiver, causes some confusion with the Boise State defensive back, Jalen Walker. That's a good matchup to keep an eye on tonight. Dante Wright will play inside and outside, but sometimes he'll find himself on their best cover guy, Jalen Walker.
Vivens gets a yard or 2 on first down. The 2nd and 9 coming up here for Colorado State. They had after the long catch, the ball spotted at the 11-yard line.
And again, I don't think we've seen Marcus McElroy back out there so far. He and Ajon Vivens, a little bit different style backs, but Ajon Vivens getting more carries right now. A little more burst out of the backfield. Steve Adazio wants those explosive runs.
I gave Vivens 3 as Wright is tackled in the backfield by Riley Wimpy. Again, one of the captains for the Broncos on defense.
Again, one of the leaders of the defense right here, Riley Wimpy. Preseason all-conference player. Does a good job recognizing. He's got his eyes on 22. He's not chasing the misdirection. And on that jet sweep, just runs through and make a play. They're going to get a body on Riley Wimpy there on the interior of the defense.
Wimpy already with 2 tackles for loss. 3rd down and 9. O'Brien surveys, fires, incomplete over the head of Trey McBride, the tight end. And Wyoming, which has struggled in the red zone this year, last in the Mountain West, be forced to kick a field goal.
Yeah, they're working on little double moves there. You see on the left side of your screen, 85, Trey McBride running a little stick nod. They're trying to bend it right in front of the safety. He's a big body, right? So if you got a guy behind him, he's still open. That ball just sails on Patrick O'Brien a little bit, but you got to give him a chance, get that ball down a little bit, because he can put his body in between the defender and the football.
That graphic was not wrong. Robert Liss, their kicker, wears 2 left cleats, and with that boot that is blocked, he's going to have to track somebody down. This is Canijo, who makes up for the fumble earlier. Another special teams play for the Broncos. There is a flag. Canijo, 90-plus yards to bring this back.
Boy, it's fun to watch the impact that Avery Williams and Kekaula Canijo have on special teams so far. We saw earlier on the throwback on the punt. Yes, there was a penalty.
The score is good. Sideline warning. Boise State. That's the first of the game.
91-yard touchdown on the recovery. Scott Matlock with the block.
And Alex, throughout the week, we could not get Brian Harsin to stop talking about Scott Matlock, right? I mean, the impact he's had on this football team. Played sparingly last year, three career tackles entering this season, but he has come into his own this season. He's an impact player on the defensive line. You see him there make a big play on special teams. The ball ends up in the playmaker's hands. Kekaula Canijo having a huge impact both on defense and in the special teams game so far tonight.
Boise State had 2 defensive touchdowns all of last season. They have 2 in the first quarter tonight. Both on blocked kicks. First on a punt, this one on a field goal. And the Broncos are up 21-zip. What a start for the Broncos.
Well, the interesting thing there, too, is there wasn't a ton of penetration up front. I think the kick came out low by Robert Liss. That ball didn't get up in the air very high. Scott Matlock didn't even need the penetration you typically would need for a shorter field goal like that. Watch here in the middle of the defensive line. I'm pretty sure this kick comes out really low. He's blocking that thing without much penetration at all. And for a field goal of that distance, that ball should have a lot more loft than that. And I mentioned again, Ncaaf, he is everywhere. I've got him on defense, the Swiss Army knife, plays linebacker, plays safety, plays nickel, and making plays on special teams too.
So Colorado State, despite having the ball in the red zone, comes up empty. Just 5 scores in 8 red zone trips this year, only 3 of them touchdowns. Flag comes in here on the return. And they are trailing 21-0. It's a 44-yard return, which would be great if this flag goes against Boise.
See Steve Adazio there. He's certainly frustrated so far. Interesting conversation with him this week. Asking him, hey, Coach, what's been your biggest challenge since arriving on campus, given we're in the midst of COVID, modified off seasons? And he just kind of shook his head and said, where do you want me to start? Right? I mean, 3 of his best players tried to leave the program after the season was postponed.
Doing a return, holding, return team. 10 yards from the spot of the foul, first down.
And the special teams issues continue for Steve Adazio's crew, but 3 of his top players, Warren Jackson, ends up leaving for the NFL when the Mountain West postponed. We mentioned that earlier. 77 catches last year, 8 touchdowns. Trey McBride and his defensive lineman, Manny Jones. Those guys also entered the transfer portal. Again, not that they didn't want to play at Colorado State anymore. They just, with the postponement, they thought they might be able to go to a different conference and play. And then on September 25th, the Mountain West announced they would be coming back, as did Trey McBride and Manny Jones. So, number of challenges for Steve Adazio, one of 6 new head coaches in this conference this year, trying to find a way.
O'Brien connects here. Final minute of the quarter. E.J. Scott Jr. with the reception. Gains 4.
And if you're Colorado State, right, coming off a win like last week, having some energy, feeling good about things with momentum, you can't come into a place like this and beat yourself. You can't have these self-inflicted wounds that they've had with blocked punts, blocked field goals.
Well, this is a nice run ripped off for the Rams as they try to get things going. Christian Hunter picks up 21 and moves the sticks.
Yeah, again, Marcus McElroy not available as far as we know right now. And Christian Hunter, their 3rd back, was solid last year in limited duty. Hasn't seen much many carries at all this year. Only 1 carry for 6 yards on the season. He's getting a chance today, along with Ajon Vivens, in the absence of Marcus McElroy.
Timeout here.
Timeout.
Boise State takes a timeout with 16 seconds left in the quarter. While special teams for the Broncos has been the story. 2 defensive touchdowns, both off block kicks.
Yeah, we saw Avery Williams come off the edge there, recover that block kick for a touchdown. Then we saw Scott Matlock get up there, block a field goal. Ncaaf recovers it, takes it all the way to the end zone. And again, if you're Colorado State, yes, these are good special teams players for Boise State, but in a way, these are self-inflicted wounds. It's already tough enough to come in here and play the class of the Mountain West on their turf when they're angry right after last week. There's a lot to prove for this Boise team. Colorado State also coming off a big win against Wyoming. Struggling here early, especially on special teams.
Boise State allowed 500 yards of offense last week. That's the first time that's happened in 3+ years. As O'Brien heaves it to the sideline and over the head of McBride. 11 seconds remaining in the quarter.
You know, last week was interesting, Alex, for that reason. It's, you know, it's 10-7 with 3 minutes left in the second quarter for Boise, right? And the third quarter got out of hand a little bit. Yes, they struggled to get to Zach Wilson. He threw for 360 yards and 2 touchdowns. BYU ran for 213 yards and 4 touchdowns. And yes, this group up front struggled to get off blocks, but you got the sense, too, that this offense put them in a really difficult spot. They couldn't string together drives. And Zach Wilson, BYU's quarterback, is an outstanding player. And as time went on, it just became a lot tougher to try to keep him in control.
The good news for Colorado State, despite all these highlights for the Broncos, it is early. End of the first, 21-0 Broncos. Well, for Colorado State, that quarter mercifully comes to an end. Boise State's only had the ball twice.
They haven't had to do much. They've been opportunistic on special teams. There's no question about that. You see 14 points on special teams, and the offense excited to have Hank Bachmeier back. Hasn't had to do much.
No. 3rd and 8 here for Colorado State. Swing pass to the tight end, McBride, and he will get to the 45-yard line. It'll be a long 4th down if they want it, 4th and 4.
Yeah, we knew coming in, Dante Wright, Trey McBride, their elite tight end. Just a little tight end screen. You see the offensive line get out here and try to become lead blockers for him. Just Boise State does a nice job staying home, making a tackle.
They're going to go for it here. Already behind significantly. 4th and 4. And O'Brien to the outside has Dante Wright. And Colorado State with a much-needed 4th down conversion.
You see Boise bring pressure from the linebacker spot. Christian Hunter, the young back, gets over there to help out. And a really nice throw to the field by Patrick O'Brien. That's where you see the arm strength of a quarterback like this. A pocket passer like Patrick O'Brien. He's got to gun that thing outside the numbers to his receiver, Dante Wright. Really nice job delivering the football.
Dante Wright was a true freshman All-American by the Football Writers Association. O'Brien's going to take a shot on 1st down. O'Brien with the catch inside the 5. Diving play by the sophomore. And Colorado State has another shot at the end zone here.
And I continue to be impressed by the ways offensive coordinator Joey Lynch finds a way to get Dante Wright the football. We know they want to go to either him or Trey McBride. That's the bulk of their production. Finds a way to get him in play action down the football field.
38-yard catch. O'Brien trying to sneak it in here. It's a touchdown for the Rams. And how big might that score be in the context of this game coming out to start the second quarter with a score?
Well, a huge turnaround coming out of that commercial break. We thought after that 3rd down, we'd probably see a punt. They elect to go for it. A great throw on the outside to Dante Wright from Patrick O'Brien. We follow that up right away with a big play-action shot to Dante Wright down the left hash. Colorado State's got a little momentum now.
Extra point from Robert Liss. That was a little adventurous. But Colorado State is now on the board. 8-play, 76-yard drive. Highlighted by this catch for Dante Wright. 38 yards to set up the sneak for Patrick O'Brien. It's too early to feel like a game might be slipping away, but that drive maybe settle things in there for Colorado State.
Well, you got to give Steve Adazio credit, too, realizing, hey, let's go for it, right? At midfield, they had issues on special teams plenty of times tonight. He probably thought, hey, at this point, let's give our offense a chance. We've struggled with special teams, and it paid off in a big way.
A return cut down for Avery Williams. It was the big reception for Wright that set it up.
Yeah, you'll see here, oftentimes they're going to run the football. You'll bring the tight end out, and you'll insert this receiver up so he can get better leverage on blocking the safety. And what that does is bring that safety down in aggressive run support. You'll see here as we run it, Dante Wright inserts up in that hole, and right there, he gets the safety's eyes into the backfield, and he has him beat right there. Just runs right by him. Great speed. Patrick O'Brien does a great job leading him down the field because that backside safety comes over and could disrupt that completion. But the ball's thrown absolutely perfectly over the outside shoulder of Dante Wright for a huge gain and to set up a big Colorado State touchdown.
Let's not forget Wright sat out the season opener as this snap is juggled by Bachmeier, and he's brought down immediately. Give a half sack there on defense to Tavion Brown, the other Manny Jones.
Yeah, Tavion Brown typically backs up to Quan Jackson at the linebacker position. He's able to get in there with one of their best defensive players, number 33, Manny Jones, and this thing was dead on arrival. And you made a great point, too, about
second and 17 here. As Bachmeier, just a step in front of the end zone, fires incomplete, intended for Shakir.
Yeah, ball just a little bit behind Shakir as he's coming over the middle. Your point a minute ago about Dante Wright being out in week 1. As you see here, the throw over the middle to Khalil Shakir, just a tad bit behind him. Your point about Dante Wright being out week 1, that's one of the reasons that Colorado State elected to start backup quarterback Todd Centejo. They liked his running ability. They didn't have one of their best receivers out there, so they figured they'd give him a chance. Didn't work out too well from a passing game standpoint, so they've been much better with Patrick O'Brien.
Boise State 0 for 6 on third down tonight until that reception for C.T. Thomas, who picks up 19 and moves the sticks.
Yeah, Hank Bachmeier does a nice job here. Just a 3-man rush, so you're dropping 8 back into coverage, and the biggest difficulty here is not being able to contain a quarterback inside the pocket when you're bringing 3 rushers. He's able to step up, leak out to his left, eyes stay downfield, and find an easy completion to C.T. Thomas.
Third down and 16, and they get the conversion as one of the linemen up front for Boise State is down.
Yeah, I think that's left tackle John Ojukwu,
yeah,
their veteran up front.
Yeah, preseason All-Mountain West will step aside. John Ojukwu, top returning starter in the offensive line for Boise, the injured player here.
Yeah, Scott Patchen does a nice job getting those hands inside, walking him backwards. And it looks like a lower body injury as he tries to plant one of his legs into the ground. And that's a tough loss for them if he's not able to return. That's the only returning starter up front. That's the leader of the defensive line, John Ojukwu. Have to keep an eye on that.
Boise State team that is thin at all positions. Luckily for them, not so much at quarterback anymore, with Bachmeier completing a dart to Stefan Cobbs for 8.
Yeah, the challenge here for Colorado State, I mentioned earlier, you want to be disruptive like you were last week against Wyoming, and a lot of that was because they were willing to bring pressure in key situations and confuse the Wyoming quarterback. And so you got to pick and choose those opportunities there. You bring pressure against Hank Bachmeier. Does a nice job diagnosing what he's seeing, getting the football out.
2nd and 1. We'll end around here for Shakir. He has the first down and more. Cuts up midfield. And Shakir down at the 35-yard line of Colorado State as he rips off a 28-yard run.
Well, there's a flag on the play, but there is a lot of misdirection going on this play. Some motion before the snap, ended up running the reverse to Khalil Shakir. And when he gets carries, he's averaging about 9 yards a clip.
Sideline warning. Colorado State. That's their first sideline warning of the half.
We'll see here. There's a motion coming around. A lot of misdirection going on. And then the toss on the reverse to Khalil Shakir. And again, getting carries. He's at 9 yards a carry this year out of the backfield. That's a formula that works for them. We're seeing 2 offenses now. Colorado State with Dante Wright and Boise State with Khalil Shakir, just finding ways to get the ball in the hands of their playmakers.
Quick throw, it's Shakir, and he's met immediately by Henry Blackburn. Gain of 2, but the freshman stopped him right away.
We'll say in college football, coaches love tunnel screens, right? Even to the boundary like this, it's just a little tunnel screen to the receiver, and the offensive line's got to release and get out and block for him. As a viewer, it's kind of a frustrating thing to watch because tunnel screens, I just don't think they're very effective very often. I know they like to run them to the boundary like that, but in that case, it's identified quickly by the Colorado State defense.
Rams rush 5, and Bachmeier is swarmed. Brought down by Carter. who's coming off a career-high 11 tackles against Wyoming. This is a 3-yard loss.
Yeah, you'll see just a replay here, and Scott Patchen up top. That's who Hank Bachmeier is reading. Scott Patchen does a nice job baiting him into keeping the football and staying home. The Miami transfer has been a big addition to this defense this year. He was a June arrival. He was not able to arrive early before the amount of spring football that they actually had. A big addition to this defense. That's a big play for a loss.
On 3rd down, 13, Bachmeier taking a look downfield, and the catch is made at the 5 by C.T. Thomas. And another big escape. Remember, it was 3rd and 13 on the conversion deep in their own territory. Here, they set up in the red zone.
Yeah, you'll see a big hit there from Scott Patchen. He comes in. There's a lot of movement pre-snap. Tough for Boise's front to identify it. They keep the pocket clean just long enough for Hank Bachmeier to step up and make a throw. He knows he's going to take a big hit there. Outstanding throw under pressure by Hank Bachmeier.
1st and goal for the Broncos. Fake the jet sweep. It's Van Buren powering ahead. A little help from his lineman, and he's inside the 2.
And that's one of the things that this offense, both last year as a true freshman with Hank Bachmeier, and this year, why they're so excited about 19, his willingness to step up and take those hits in delivering the football. As you see some tough, hard-earned yards there by Andrew Van Buren, the running back.
Boise State remains perfect in the red zone. Second and goal from the 2. A pitch to the back, and Van Buren is in for the touchdown. 10 trips to the red zone, 10 touchdowns for the Broncos. And they're an extra point from 28-7.
Yeah, they just fake the inside zone to the fullback and pitch it out to Andrew Van Buren. Colorado State just loses the edges of the defense, and he's able to outflank him for an easy touchdown. And again, this was set up by an outstanding throw from quarterback Hank Bachmeier in the face of pressure deep down the field to his wide receiver, C.T. Thomas.
85 yards, including 2 huge 3rd down conversions for Boise State. Capped off by this run from Andrew Van Buren. And the Broncos reestablish a 3-possession lead. FS1 College Football is sponsored by Rocket Mortgage. Alex Faust and Evan Moore here with you. The 2 big 3rd down conversions highlighted that drive, didn't they?
No question. And again, we mentioned the throw by Hank Bachmeier out on the perimeter to C.T. Thomas in the face of pressure. Colorado State did a nice job of mixing their fronts, creating a little bit of confusion. Didn't face Hank one bit, willing to step up and make that throw to set up a touchdown. Great play.
This will be taken from the 8-yard line. Benunzio, that's a heady tackle on special teams for the Broncos. As we remind you, Fox Sports proudly salutes those who serve our country. In honor of Veterans Day, Fox Sports is working with U.S. Vets, the nation's largest nonprofit provider of comprehensive services to homeless and at-risk veterans to ensure food stability for veterans through the holiday season. Learn how you can help by visiting usvetsinc.org. Well, the total yardage, the total offense would be deceiving. Boise State's leading by a bunch. O'Brien, that's another big completion to his favorite target, Dante Wright. And the Rams, boy, they're feeding a lot to him, and why not?
And give offensive coordinator Joey Lynch credit. They're on the play action. He gets 3 verticals on the left side of the field. Dante Wright finds himself out in isolation once again. That time against J.L. Skinner, the safety, and that's a matchup they want to exploit. You can catch your best receiver out in space on a safety. Again, credit goes to the offensive coordinator for scheming that one up. That's an outstanding play design and a good execution by Patrick O'Brien.
Now over 100 yards receiving. This is off his fingertips. Could have been dangerous.
And again, it's fascinating to see the different roles that Dante Wright plays. When you're really committed to getting a playmaker the football, you see him come across the formation here in play action. A little bit of a slide route out in the flat. That's typically a route a tight end would run. But given his versatility, his quickness, his ability to make plays in space, and often lack of production in other positions, this is what you got to do. So Joey Lynch finding ways.
O'Brien to the outside. This is Wright again. This time he's tackled by Riley Wimpy after a gain of just 1.
Starting to feel like he's everywhere. Omnipresent, all over the place, 22. There you see him again coming across the formation in kind of a jet motion out in the flat, and a nice open field tackle by linebacker Riley Wimpy. Their leading tackler this year does a really nice job out in space against an elusive player.
Colorado State 0 for 6 tonight on 3rd down as O'Brien is picked off. J.L. Skinner with the interception. And yet another Boise State play. Defensively, it's been a nightmare for Colorado State tonight.
Well, this is Patrick O'Brien trying to get it to the other playmaker on this offense, 85, Trey McBride, and this time he forces it. It's on the bang 8 route, which is a 7-step post route to the middle of the field. And you see there the safety, J.L. Skinner's got his eyes on Patrick McBride the entire time in zone coverage. If you're going to throw that way to Trey McBride, they already know that's where you want to go. Those eyes have to start to the right side of the field to move that safety. He's not able to do that. And J.L. Skinner does a great job reading those eyes and coming in for the interception.
Well, it might be just the first turnover, but you toss in the 2 block kicks, and Boise State's defense has stepped up big time. Now a short field for Bachmeier and company. Run on 1st down. There's a flag on the play here as the first touch of the night. Danny Smith might be taken back.
Yeah.
Beg your pardon,
There
it's
is no
Tyler
foul
Crow.
for illegal formation. 2nd down.
Let's go back to the interception.
Yeah, I mentioned the eyes of the safety, J.L. Skinner, and reading the quarterback. You'll see here, watch his eyes right there. They never really go to the right side of the field. They go right over to Trey McBride. Now we'll see it from the other direction. J.L. Skinner, the safety, right here. Look at him. He's just staring right in the eyes of Patrick O'Brien. Does a great job of reading him, telegraphing that pass. And again, they're already tilting Trey McBride's way anyway. When you split him outside, you're doing it to get him the football. Tight end split outside like that. Nice job by J.L. Skinner.
Bachmeier with the pocket collapsing, heaves it downfield into coverage. A little underthrown and eventually broken up. He had Henry Blackburn on the coverage, guarding Riley Smith.
Looked like Riley Smith had a step there. Yeah, if he floats that thing out just a little bit over his outside shoulder, that's probably an easy touchdown. But Riley Smith is he's a threat at the tight end position. Former quarterback, just recently switched to tight end. They feel really good about his upside at that position. They think he's a future star. Already making plays in this Boise offense.
Career high 5 receptions, 39 yards last week against BYU.
False start. Number 2, offense. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
Shakir.
You know, and hearing Riley Smith moving to the tight end position, getting a lot of play time at 6'4", 225, your first question is, well, how is he in the run game, right? Formerly playing quarterback, can he consistently block defensive ends, linebackers at the line of scrimmage? Because if the answer is no, it's hard to get him on the football field consistently. And they said, no, he's done an outstanding job learning that part of the game, and he's only getting better. Big upside for Riley Smith.
Austin Bolt checks into the game, the freshman tight end, as Bachmeier aims for Smith again, rather for C.T. Thomas, and he hauls it in. That's a 3rd and 14 now to add to the other big 3rd down conversions tonight.
And again, on 3rd and long, it's tough to stop him when you've got playmakers like this. C.T. Thomas pushes up on the corner. Rashad Ajayi out in space, runs an outstanding route. It's a little bit of separation, gets good position. Nice throw by Hank Bachmeier.
34 straight games with a reception for Thomas as Shakir brings it in on 1st down.
And we're starting to get a reminder with Hank Bachmeier back out there, unlike last week, of what this offense is capable of. These various playmakers we're seeing getting shots down the field. Riley Smith getting open down the field as well, having an opportunity there. Just a number of guys for Hank to get the ball to.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that he had to miss the game, because you think about national implications. That was a top 25 matchup at home against a very good BYU club, but still 2-0 in Mountain West play, as Van Buren is bottled up, loss of 2. And this Boise State team very much controls their own destiny. Mountain West perspective, there are 3 unbeaten teams: Nevada, San Jose State, and Boise State. Boise will not have to play Nevada. One less conference game, and there are a whole host of tiebreakers that come in with win percentage and if you get far enough computer rankings, but they firmly believe that they're still among the class in this league.
How about Brent Brennan's San Jose State squad, huh?
Oh, what a job they've done. Putting up some good numbers, too.
Outstanding. Awesome to see.
Boise, 6 of 7, now 7 of 8 on 3rd down tonight, as Thomas bursts through.
Well, we've seen a number of these misdirection plays, whether it's as a reverse or whether it's just simple jet motion. We've seen receivers come across the formation, take handoffs. We've seen Khalil Shakir do it. And reason being, they like these guys' speed and their ability to get to the perimeter. If you can beat those guys to the edge of a defense, it equals big yards. And the guys that hold the edge of this defense for Colorado State, whether it's Brandon Hickerson-Rooks, number 15, or Scott Patchen, number 1, Boise clearly feels good about their ability to outrun those guys.
Quick out of the huddle. Fake pass, and Van Buren slips a tackle, slips by another, and is out at the 2-yard line. It's that trademark trickery from Boise, isn't it?
I got to chuckle at that a little bit. Have we seen a little Statue of Liberty action from Boise State before? Have we seen this before, possibly down in the state of Arizona for a Fiesta Bowl, I believe it was, with Ian Johnson? We've been there before. I think this is where you see, Eric Keesaw, their offensive coordinator, and their head coach Brian Harsin. A little sense of humor, too. Yeah, you expect it to be effective, but you give us a chuckle up here when you do something like that.
Is this a touchdown for Riley Smith? Just short.
We might have to dig in. Might have to dig into the archives a little bit to find that play later today to show that Statue of Liberty where that thing started for the Boise State Broncos.
He took a wildcat snap here, Smith did.
Again, Riley Smith, former quarterback, comfortable taking a shotgun snap. Direct snap to him. Fakes the handoff, tries to get up, and nice job of the Colorado State defense getting a stop.
I guess if you're a former quarterback, it doesn't really count it as
That's
wildcat.
right. That's right.
Ball at the half-yard line, 3rd and goal. And Colorado State comes up with the stop. Manny Jones met Van Buren at the point of attack. And for a Rams team in need of stops, this is a relatively large one.
Yeah, this group up front, Colorado State, is without one of their leaders, Toby McBride. So Manny Jones, their most active player on the defensive front, comes into the game, 2 sacks on the year, 5 tackles for a loss.
Look out here. Going to go for it. Trying to pour it on here in the first half. And it's a touchdown for Van Buren. There is a flag. Defense looked like they had flinched, but it should stand based on what we saw.
It looked like somebody might have been in a neutral zone.
Outside, number 36, defense. That penalty is declined. The result of the play is a touchdown.
Now you see the Colorado State player come off the edge. It's nothing more than what I think would have developed into a speed option. That ball comes out quick to Andrew Van Buren. The Colorado State defender commits 100% to Hank Bachmeier, and there's nobody else on the edge to stop Van Buren from walking into the end zone.
Tell you what, Holani may not be available, but Van Buren, that's his 5th touchdown on the season. That's just one behind Ronnie Rivers at Fresno State for the most in the Mountain West this season. The Broncos are rolling in the first half. Well, it wouldn't be a Boise State game without a little Statue of Liberty thrown in there on the last
go with
drive.
it, right?
35-7. Van Buren's second score.
Yeah, it wasn't effective. Didn't score. But I love it. Right, going back to the 2007 team that beat an Oklahoma team in the Fiesta Bowl. Ian Johnson, Jared Zabransky. Same action. End up scoring there on a speed option, though. Nice play, nice read by Hank Buckmeyer to the outside. Easy touchdown for Andrew Van Buren.
35 first half points, and there's a fumble on the kickoff. All right, we hear the call down on the field. White has it.
The ruling on the field is a muff kick recovered by Colorado State. First down.
Now the muff nearly into the hands of the Broncos. Tyler Crow on special teams trying to make a play.
Boy, if you're John Goodman, the Colorado State special teams coordinator, you are up in arms about what you've seen today, the mistakes, right? It's already resulted in 14 points. You almost give it away there, backed up in your own territory. Feel lucky to get away with that one. That's a big break.
Right on the carry here. Yeah, for Colorado State, something seemed off. And granted, give credit to Boise, the way they came out and just let them go nowhere the first 3 drives. And Colorado State had the first 3 possessions of the game. They were already down after the block kick, but they had nothing going offensively.
Yeah, they found a little bit of rhythm on a couple drives, and it comes at the hands of Dante Wright. And you see here, it's a little delay route to Trey McBride, their other star on offense. And last drive, trying to force it to Trey McBride as well, splitting him out at the receiver position, not seeing the safety coming over. It's obvious that a lot of the production of this offense is going to go through that man right there, number 22, Dante Wright, and 85, Trey McBride. And if you're Boise, they'll continue to adjust throughout the game, too, to take those guys away and make somebody else in this Colorado State offense make those plays.
Vivens picks up 6 on first down.
See here, Vivens in the backfield, just a slight hesitation, wait for that thing to open up and shoot through. And Ajon Vivens again switches to running back about 3 weeks before their first game, primarily a slot receiver. Still learning how to play the position. He's a natural ball carrier with the ball in his hands, learning in pass protection. And with their other back, Marcus McElroy, the more pure running back, with him out right now. We haven't seen him come in since that shoulder issue earlier. Ajon's going to get a big load here.
O'Brien, fumble, strip sacked, and then recovered by Vivens. Oh, Shane Irwin brought the heat.
Yeah, earlier this year when this Boise front lost Dimitri Washington, their best pass rusher, Shane Irwin had to step in and accept that role. He's done a nice job so far tonight, coming off the edge, sticking with it. Patrick O'Brien clearly holds onto the ball too long, but you see at the bottom of your screen, number 55, beating the left tackle Keith Williams around the edge and staying with it, retracing his steps, getting to the quarterback for a big play.
Colorado State averaging less than a yard on third down. Boise averaging 11. And O'Brien's in trouble again. This time Ezekiel Noah, coming off an ACL tear last year, forcing a throwaway.
Yeah, this time they're not going to let Patrick O'Brien sit back there on third down and wait for things to develop. They send pressure with number 7 there, their middle linebacker, Zeke Noah. He's had a nice start so far this year. He had a torn ACL last year. Missed a good chunk of that season. He's back out there, has been a consistent performer for them so far this year. A really instinctive football player.
They were impressed, even with COVID, how good a shape he was coming back in to this program. And the Rams have another kick blocked, and another one returned for a score. It's DJ Schramm on the recovery, and the third block kick for the Broncos tonight results in another score.
Flying off the edge, I believe that's 26 again, isn't it?
Yes, Williams.
Boy, oh boy. Okay, when Avery Williams is up on the line of scrimmage in a punt formation, you have to be aware of where he is. Otherwise, he'd be back returning punts. If they bring him up to the line of scrimmage, they're identifying an opportunity to fly off the edge. And once again, like earlier in the game, he comes off the edge untouched. Times up the snap really well. He's got exceptional speed off the edge, has a knack for these types of plays, and Colorado State again fails to account for him on the edge.
What a sensational night for Avery Williams. His second block. Boise's third score off a blocked kick. Wow. Well, we were talking to Brian Arson about Avery Williams. Super coachable. He's talking about how he actually asked to be in the coach's room during their meeting so he could kind of understand, well, how are you going over film? What are you scheming out? Maybe, maybe I can collaborate with you guys on something. They are so impressed by what he brings.
Well, he keeps this up, he's not going to have to be a coach anytime soon.
I was going to say, like they said, he might have a future in coaching.
Keep doing what you're doing, buddy.
I think he's good at this. Goodness.
He's also a good corner, too. Can't forget that.
Yeah.
And again, we talked about him coming up on the line of scrimmage. Here he is out here. It's simply a numbers game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the outside. They only have 1, 2, 3 blockers there. They got to bring a guy down up top to seal the edge. Bring that gunner down up top to seal the edge off that side. You realize Boise State, from a special team standpoint, they're looking at it. They see that from up high. Their special teams coordinator does, and identifies that issue. That was likely a game plan thing, and they saw it once again, bring him down on that side off the edge of the line of scrimmage. And if he goes untouched, a lot of guys don't have the speed to get there. If he goes untouched, he's going to block that kick. Colorado State has to make an adjustment.
Well, we asked at the top of the show whether Boise State would bounce back. I'd say they've done so and then some.
Certainly didn't expect it to come in the form of 21 points on special teams, right? And we almost saw, the fumbled kickoff return. The last time Colorado State caught the ball, I just thought we'd see an offensive explosion with Hake Bachmeier. We haven't even needed to see that tonight from Boise.
I mean, even so, Boise's only had 4 possessions. It's nuts. As we look ahead to our State Farm halftime show, look ahead to a busy slate of games on Fox and FS1. Nebraska's team motto and Urban Meyer's playbook. Incomplete pass here out of the hands of Trey McBride. And for Colorado State, boy, do they have to be wondering what hit him.
Yeah. Well, it's frustrating for them at this point, too, because Steve Addazio, his roots lie in coaching the offensive line. He's a run game guy first. He wants his team to be able to run the football. And when you're down as much as they are right now, you kind of have to abandon what your plan was coming in. Now they have to spread it out and try to throw the football. Boise State knows what they want to do. They're coming after Patrick O'Brien. It's a tough out.
O'Brien brought down here. 33 seconds left in the half. Clock will stop to move the chains. Colorado State just want to get something positive here. He felt like when this game was 21-0, Colorado State had that drive, the 38-yard catch for Wright. O'Brien with the quarterback sneak. It was 21-7 at that point.
That is the second charge timeout for Boise State.
But it has gone south since then. Timeout here for the Broncos. Tomorrow, a Big Ten showdown. Iowa takes on Minnesota. That's a sneaky good game, despite the teams being 1 and 2 each. Coverage begins tomorrow, 7 Eastern on FS1. Mountain West action here on FS1 this weekend. A slew of games on FS2. 2-1 Boise State, 2-0 in conference play, and still with destiny in their own hands in this shortened season. First down at midfield for Colorado State. 20 seconds on the clock. They still have all 3 timeouts. And O'Brien throws this away. What a frustrating night it must be for Patrick O'Brien, too. A guy who started the last 9 games of 2019. Came off the bench, as we talked about, to open this season at Fresno State. He had missed some time in camp, Steve Addazio had said, but came back on a nice game against Wyoming. Tonight, just no run support. Final timeout here for Boise.
That is Boise State, 3rd timeout of the half.
All right, 11 seconds left in the half.
I think for Boise State, too, there's been a lot of encouraging things defensively coming out of that that BYU game last week. We mentioned all the new faces up front on that defensive line and trying to consistently get off blocks and get after BYU was a problem for them last week. And we've seen Shane Irwin, Scott Matlock make some plays tonight with those good linebackers behind him as well. But this is a group that lost some guys from last year, right? Curtis Weaver ended up being an NFL draft pick. David Moa. Weaver was the conference defensive player of the year. 13.5 sacks last year. That's a disruptive force. Sam Whitney takes his spot at that stud linebacker. Dimitri Washington moves to like more of a defensive end. They lose him. He's a really good pass rusher. So I think using tonight as a way to consistently get after Patrick O'Brien and develop some confidence up front with that group has been a big positive for Boise State's defense.
I'll remind you, 14 players out due to either positive tests or contact tracing for Boise, but their defense came to play tonight as O'Brien gets sacked at the 41-yard line. Irwin, with his 2nd sack of the season, brings us to the end of the first half, a half that was dominated by the defense. You wouldn't think 42 points and we'd be talking about the defense here, but defense and special teams ruled the day for Boise. Back for the State Farm halftime show after this. .42 first half points for the Broncos. And the offense isn't even the story. As we get ready for the second half here, special teams has been the issue.
Yeah, you said it. 21 points off special teams and 2 block punts by Avery Williams, the corner, and the outstanding special teams player. You'll see here Scott Matlock on the blocked field goal as well, on the low field goal kick by Colorado State, taken all the way back by Kekaula Kaniho. And once again here, a game plan thing. Avery Williams, they for sure saw this on film. A vulnerability on the outside of this Colorado State punt protection unit. Flies off the edge. He's already a special player on special teams. You give him an opportunity, he's going to take advantage of it.
Colorado State unable to establish the run early on. Got things going with Dante Wright after a little while, but look at 3rd down. Yeah. Boise State with a bunch of big conversions.
Yeah, we haven't needed to see a ton of the Boise State defense, or excuse me, offense, but they've been efficient when they've had the football. And you look at Colorado State, that 0 for 8 on 3rd down, that's largely a function of what they've done on 1st and 2nd down. Boise State's been very disruptive on defense, putting them in long, third and long situations on a pretty consistent basis, and Patrick O'Brien has struggled to find those receivers down the field.
Boise State only had 4 offensive possessions in the first half. They'll receive the ball to start the second when we come back. Action-packed first half, mostly for the team wearing orange, though. 42-7 as we start the second half. Alex Faust and Evan Moore here with you. And you couldn't ask for a better half for the Boise State Broncos. Built for success, presented by Rocket Mortgage. For the personalized playbook on home loans, Rocket can. How about the 3rd down conversions tonight?
You know, last week, this Colorado State defense was outstanding against Wyoming on 3rd down, holding them to just 4 for 15. But tonight, the Boise offense has been in 3rd and 13 or more 3 times. They've converted all 3 for a total of 71 yards. Very discouraging if you're on the Colorado State side of the football, especially with what you were able to do last week against Wyoming. But On the other hand, Boise feeling the benefits of having their quarterback back, standing in there under pressure, delivering the ball down the football field, and making big plays in 3rd and long situations.
Block punt, block field goal, block punt, the big special teams plays, and those 3 3rd down conversions. I mean, those are the big plays of the game, 6 of them, and it's explained the score in many respects. Colorado State kicks off here. And this is Avery Williams from the 3. Williams, one of the top kick returners as well. I know he's made special teams plays with those 2 blocks, but he has 2 punt return for TDs last year, 4 in his career, 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns. And boy, Hank Bachmeier, he hasn't had to do much, but he's had a good night regardless. Yeah,
he's been efficient. You see there, too, with Khalil Shakir and C.T. Thomas. You see the carries there for Khalil Shakir. You know, we mentioned no George Holani, Andrew Van Buren, the other running back that's in there getting the bulk of the carries, but they've also found ways to get the ball in Shakir's hand out of the backfield. Coming into the game, averaging 9 yards a carry when he gets the ball in the backfield. So worked out well for the Boise offense.
Bachmeier in the gun, and on 1st down, it's Van Buren who already has a pair of scores here tonight, up to 5 on the season. Pickup of 8.
Yeah, it's a tip of the hat, too, to offensive coordinator Eric Keesaw in identifying, you know, Van Buren's a good back, but they lose a little bit of explosiveness and elusiveness with George Holani when he is out. Finding a way to get some of those receivers into the backfield and get some of that explosiveness out on the edge has paid off well for Boise today.
Flag here for the snap. Probably a false start. And it is.
False start. Number 73. Offense. 5-yard penalty. 2nd down.
Now, Alex, one of the other faces we have not seen tonight, I don't believe we've seen him at all, is tight end number 85, John Bates, one of their leaders on offense. He's on the Mackey watch list. Just an all-around tight end. Left last week with an injury. He was supposed to be available tonight, but it's been mostly Riley Smith and Tyneil Hopper, number 88, that have been filling in tight end duties. And I'd say at this point, if we have not seen him yet, we probably will not see him tonight.
There he is.
Dressed out, ready to go. Doesn't look like he's been sweating, though.
Bachmeier airs it out, and it's just behind the intended target, Billy Bowens, sophomore from Redlands, California.
Yeah, they had a shot there. Billy Bowens had a step on corner of Rashad Ajayi. You see he gets him beat. Throw goes to his back shoulder. Usually when you get a guy beat like that, throw it out there and let him run to it. A little underthrown by Hank Bachmeier.
Well, it's so interesting. It's another 3rd and long here. Colorado State this year, opponents were averaging 8.5 yards to go on 3rd down. That's the most in the conference. And Bachmeier's unable to get away here. And until this stop, realistically, Boise's been shredding them on 3rd down. Sack here will make it a 3 and out for the Broncos.
Well, if you're defensive coordinator Chuck Heater and you see the issues they're having on 3rd down, you try to find a way to change up the fronts a little bit and bring some pressure and not let him stand in there and make those throws. Earlier in the game, we saw them rush 3, drop 8 into coverage. They didn't get to Hank Bachmeier, so he's able to move around and create space and keep his eyes down the field and then eventually find a receiver come open late. There, they do a nice job collapsing the pocket with pressure and bringing him down.
From the 30, this is right. Going nowhere on the return. Seven yards on the return for Dante Wright. And an injury for Boise State on special teams. This is Tyreek Jones.
Yeah, he's dealt with a couple injuries already this year. He was banged up a little bit last week. You see him here playing special teams, and Boise will do that with their starting defensive players, put them on special teams. You see right there. Ooh. Looks like ends up colliding with the leg of his teammate.
We'll step aside. All right, so here's what happened on the injury moments ago.
You see Tyree Jones come in there late, try to make a tackle on Dante Wright, and ends up running into the leg of long snapper Daniel Cantrell. Getting a little whiplash there. Walked out under his own power.
New quarterback in for Colorado State, Todd Centejo, out of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, the redshirt junior. Remember, he started the first game that Colorado State played against Fresno State on October 31st. Dual threat quarterback, 89 yards, but just 10 of 23 passing. See if they change up the look here. As a hole opens for Ajon Vivens. Crossing midfield, and Vivens down at the Boise State 43.
Yeah, you're going to see, given the dual threat nature of what Todd Centejo presents, there's going to be a little bit of a lag on the backside, given his ability to keep the football in these read plays. They pull the backside guard and tackle around. Nice lead block for Ajon Vivens.
And again, he gets a good block. Finds a seam in the end and gets another first down.
Yeah, we thought we might see Todd Centejo today after seeing him start week one. Week one, it was kind of a necessity thing. They didn't have receivers healthy. Dante Wright was out as well. They wanted to start that dual threat quarterback and possibly get some rushing yards. He had 80 yards rushing in week one. You see him here now getting the chance to mix things up in the run game.
Pulls it back and makes a man miss. Well, that's part of why you may see Centejo even if the score isn't lopsided this year.
You see there, he puts that backside defender, Shane Irwin, in a bind there. Shane Irwin's got his eyes on the quarterback, and that guy's unblocked for a reason. Todd Centejo's responsible for him. If he folds, Todd Centejo keeps the football, gets outside, and he executes that really well. This is an adjustment that Boise State's defense is going to have to make on the fly, right? Previously going against Patrick O'Brien, assuming they would see him for most of the game, kind of your classic pocket passer. And now you get a dual threat quarterback that doesn't necessarily scare you throwing the ball down the field, even though he can push it down the field. But with his legs, it becomes a different threat at the quarterback position.
Play action, Centejo calling the number of right on the far corner of the end zone near the pylon, but incomplete.
Yeah, floated that just over the outstretched hands of Dante Wright. And again, Todd Centejo will occasionally wow you with a throw. Like, the ability is certainly there. It's just developing consistency with him. As a transfer from Temple, coaches were generally happy, especially with how he ran the ball in week one. Got him on the move right now on 3rd and 8.
Yet to get a 3rd down conversion tonight. As this pass is caught for the touchdown, Trey McBride with his 4th score this year. It's a 21-yard touchdown for McBride, and Colorado State starts the half getting a 3 and out and a score.
Yeah, just rolling out to the right. It's well protected off the edge. And again, when Todd Centejo gets out of the pocket and rolls outside, the Boise's defense is thinking, okay, this guy's likely going to run. He does a nice job in the face of pressure, keeping his eyes down the field, delivering a nice throw to Trey McBride.
Extra point is good. So McBride, one of the captains on this squad, first team all-conference last year, makes a pretty straightforward grab, and Colorado State's feeling good to start the half. FS1 College Football is sponsored by Rocket Mortgage. Alex Faust and Evan Moore here with you. All right, that was a productive drive for Colorado State, starting the half off right. See what they could do here defensively. Already a 3 and out. First one. Got to deal with Avery Williams, though, as he reverses field. And he coughs up the football. Colorado State thinks they have it. Well.
Little reversal of fortune here.
Yeah.
As Avery Williams made so many plays on special teams, he's a little loose with the football in the open field. Saw that pop out. You see the Colorado State players pointing in that direction. Looks like they got it.
Yeah, Rams ball. Okay.
Really nice job. Actually wasn't very loose either. That ball didn't really get outside the framework of his body much.
That's E.J. Scott Jr., who is a wide receiver, but
yeah, that's one of the issues when you cut away from where the kickoff is designed to be blocked and where it's designed to go, and you kind of cut back, so to speak. You end up with no blockers around you, and you take hits from 5 guys in all different directions. There's a good chance that ball's going to pop out.
Well, all of a sudden, if the Rams can score quickly here, we might have ourselves a ball game again. 42-14. More than 10 minutes remaining, and that's the second turnover on special teams for Boise tonight. We've been singing their praises, but remember earlier, you had Avery Williams with a back pass to Canijo, and he fumbled it near midfield, giving Colorado State the ball. It didn't result in anything, but maybe some things yet to clean up for Brian Harson's bunch. They'll start at the 17. And there goes Vivens. Touchdown Rams. And all of a sudden, Colorado State has back-to-back scores to begin the second half.
And the zone replay pays off again for Todd Centejo. This time he passes it off to Ajon Vivens. And again, this is forcing this defensive front for Boise just to stop their feet for one additional second and keep their eyes on quarterback Todd Centejo, wondering if he's going to keep it. Completely different dynamic right now in the backfield for Colorado State. Now we're seeing why Steve Addazio elected to go with Todd Centejo in week 1. He wants explosive runs, and he's finding it here tonight after the insertion of Todd Centejo.
First play after the turnover results in points. The touchdown for Vivens, his first score of the year. All of a sudden, we got ourselves a game. Two touchdowns, 17 seconds apart. And on their first 2 possessions of the half, Colorado State with 2 scores. All set up that last time by the fumbled kickoff return from Avery Williams. This will go out of bounds on the kickoff. Let's go back to the touchdown here.
Really good play design. You watch here, the primary read is quarterback counter. These 2 offensive linemen are come around, become a lead blocker for Todd Centejo.
Number 93 kicking team. The ball will be placed at the 35-yard line. First down.
They're going to come around and be elite blockers for Todd Centejo. If he keeps it, Vivens is going to come across. Now you're going to see here, we're going to freeze it right at the mesh point where Todd Centejo has his eyes right now on this defender. He sees him collapse, and he knows that Ajon Vivens has a clear path outside and can outflank that defender for a big gain. And these are the explosive runs that Steve Addazio was looking for, and he found one there, due largely because of the threat that Todd Centejo presents in the running game.
Now the Broncos looking to settle things down as Bachmeier's hit as he throws. Incomplete pass on first down. Bachmeier feeling the heat.
Yeah, no pressure, some energy right now permeating throughout this Colorado State roster as we see Scott Patchen get there once again and rush the throw. And we've got a new Bsu Vs Csu at left tackle. Like we mentioned earlier, John Ojukwu, the leader of the offensive line, is now out. He's got Scott Patchen now over the top of him. It's a matchup to keep an eye on.
Csu, the transfer from Rice. Bachmeier airs it out, and it's Shakir who reels it in. And that'll break up the momentum from Colorado State.
Yeah, we mentioned the left tackle position with Scott Patchen over the top. Scott Patchen almost finds a way through there, but Hank Bachmeier stands in there and throws. And you got right here Khalil Shakir on a safety or a nickel and Taiwan Francis. And moving Khalil Shakir around, trying to find those matchups, and that's exactly what Hank Bachmeier is looking for. Delivers a nice football down the field.
Last week at 10 receptions, 139 yards. This week, working on 4 for 58. As Shakir gets the give this time. And burrows ahead for 5 or 6. This is much needed for Boise State just to settle things down after the sun. How many sudden change scenarios have we had in this game? Goodness.
There's been a lot of them.
And what have we here?
Colorado State has taken their first timeout of the half.
All right, so we will take the timeout with them. All right, it wouldn't be a Boise State game without a Statue of Liberty play, right?
There it is.
Tonight.
Thought it looked familiar.
Yeah. Let's take you back to 2007 against Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl.
And how about the way Ian Johnson sells that, too, on a two-pointer to win it against Oklahoma. Ian Johnson proposes to his girlfriend after. I mean, you can't make that stuff up, right? Fairy tale type stuff. Awesome.
Chris Peterson, of course, longtime coach at Boise, went on to Washington. This pass hits the back of a lineman and brings up third down. That's been a problem for Boise State tonight.
Yeah, Boise State trying to set up a screen. See on the left side of your screen there, the running back Andrew Van Buren leaks out. Timing's off. I think Bachmeier just trying to get rid of it.
And a lot of personnel trying to get organized here on 3rd and 5. Both sides of the ball.
Third down opportunity for Colorado State.
Trying to get off the field here. Pressure comes, and Shakir is tackled for a loss. Marshawn Cameron with the stop.
Alex, I mentioned earlier how much coaches like tunnel screens. And here we see it again out of the 3-receiver set to Hank Bachmeier's right side. Khalil Shakir is in the slot. He comes on the little tunnel screen and sniffed out nicely by Colorado State. Again, it's a popular play both at the NFL and collegiate level. I never am quite sure why. I don't think they're always as successful as people think they're going to be when they draw them up, but nonetheless that's the second one of the game to Khalil Shakir for no gain.
38-yard attempt now for Jonah Dalmas, the freshman. And this just his second career attempt. Hit a 39-yarder last week as the Broncos pad the lead in Boise. All right, 45-21. Second half here, Hank Bachmeier. Well, they're excited to have him back, first of all. But second of all, this Boise team, if he is in the lineup, how good might they be? How good might they have been last week? And I wonder if that question is going to start being asked around Boise. That one game you had your rival BYU on your home field and you didn't have your #1 quarterback.
And he's not the only one, right? George Holani, their dynamic back that had 1,000 yards a year ago. There's, again, 14 guys out today due to the COVID protocols. So something you're going to have to live with in 2020.
It's taken back by Bonanzo, and he runs into a wall for crossing the 15-yard line. So for Colorado State, I mean, this feels like do or die. I mean, Boise State, you have plenty of time left in the game, all things considered, but 45-21, you need points, you need them fast.
Yeah, with Patrick O'Brien, they were finding some success pushing the ball down the field to Dante Wright, but outside of that, it was difficult to find much. They were struggling to protect him, pocket collapsing pretty quickly. Now that Todd Centejo is in the game, more of a dual threat quarterback looking to run the football, enter the zone read game like we saw the counter read a minute ago with the quarterback and more zone read stuff. They've been able to start moving the ball a little more on the ground.
And a little bit more with this guy too, Ajon Vivens, former slot receiver, now leads the team in rushing this year, at least did entering the day. 64 yards on the ground today. 68, I beg your pardon. As Centejo gets away, steps up, and will set up a third and manageable.
I haven't had many of these third and manageable situations tonight, but this is where Steve Addazio wanted them to get better, as we see Todd Centejo avoid some pressure and get some positive yards. Another thing I'm seeing here on Boise's defense is them more consistently since Todd Centejo entered the game, bringing Kekala Kaniho down into the box. Be short on that. And we talked about how versatile he is, bringing him down to the box to probably account for some of these quarterback runs as well, to keep his eyes on the quarterback. in this zone read game. It's hurt him so far since Todd Centejo entered the game.
Punt units coming on the field for Colorado State. So
I want to keep an eye on where Avery Williams is,
Yeah.
26, and just make sure now he's back to receive the punt.
boy, how much is Ryan Stonehouse sweating each punt that he takes tonight? But luckily for him, Williams is back at his own 35. He gets by a tackle and gets a block, and Williams is out, tiptoeing past the 40 into Colorado State territory. So Hank Bachmeier is back out on the field. He's earned a new nickname in the last several months, Hillbilly Hank. Okay, so, you know, about a year, this kid's from Southern California, Marietta. Hadn't seen much beyond just Boise. After spring ball was canceled, he wanted to get out and see a little bit more Boise with some spring time to, kind of see it around. And Tyler Urin, one of the backup tight ends, invited Hank to his family's ranch, Fruitland, Idaho. Bachmeier had to borrow some boots, a hat. He didn't even have a pair of jeans.
Does that kid look like he's from Southern California, that picture?
No.
I'm from Southern California. I've never taken a picture like that before.
Into coverage, this pass is incomplete. So he never owned a pair of jeans, but he loved it. He loved horseback riding. He tried it out a couple times after that. He has since bought his own cowboy hat, boots, jeans. He even got one of those gigantic belt buckles. Says he loves it in Idaho, and most important of all, his riding form is passable. You know what? That's a complete fish out of water situation, right? You go from Southern California to Boise, Idaho, but he's enjoyed it.
When in Rome, right?
Yep. That's the ultimate way to quarantine. Okay, I don't know anything about horseback riding. My wife does, but I'm sure she's about to text me now, like, okay, I don't know if this is the right way or not.
The extent of what I know comes from the show Yellowstone, and I feel like I've become somewhat of an expert on horse riding simply from that. He looks like a character right out of Yellowstone, too, by the way. Good show, too, by the way.
As long as you have the hat front on instead of backwards.
That's right.
Then you're okay.
That's right.
Bachmeier, sophomore. Marietta. And he's about to get sacked again. It's the third sack of the night for the Colorado State defense. And Devin Phillips comes up with the stop here.
Yeah, Devin Phillips gets there, and fortunate that he did, because they had some receivers coming open late down the field. If Hank Bachmeier was able to step up and push that ball down the field, he might have had a touchdown on the backside of this formation. But Devin Phillips getting more play time too tonight in the absence of Toby McBride, the brother of the tight end Trey McBride. See him there beating left guard Garrett Curran.
Missed the first game of the season against Fresno State. Got back in the lineup. Phillips. 4th and 9, going for it. And they take a shot to the end zone into coverage, and they may have earned themselves a second life here on a flag. Rashad Ajayi in coverage.
Pass interference, number 4. Defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
Yeah, that's a frustrating play for Rashad Ajayi. Obviously in position, doesn't ever turn around to find the football, ends up face guarding him. Those eyes got to flip around when he hears that ball call from his teammates to find the ball, and he would have been just fine. The play was well covered down the field. It's a tough one. That's an experienced player, too, with over 20 starts in his Colorado State career. Just can't find the ball in coverage.
All right, a little end around here. And some running room into the end zone. Hey, how about the fumble at the end? Shakir to the lineman Crabtree. I hope the big boy gets a touchdown. You better give it to him.
Well, we talked about great things happening when Khalil Shakir gets the ball out of the backfield. Over 9 yards of carry coming into the game, gets out in the open field. Nice little move there in the open field. And this is one where you're hoping he didn't cross the goal line. So Nick Crabtree, the right tackle, can get himself a touchdown. And that thing looks like it comes out early. This is going to stand.
I love it.
That is awesome. And as much as Khalil Shakir wants his touchdowns, I'm sure right there he's okay with that one. Wouldn't have any other way on that one. That is awesome.
Injured Ram on the play. And that'll require some attention. Okay, so Nick Crabtree, starting right tackle, redshirt senior from Huntington Beach, California. I'm going to be honest, in my preparation, I did not look up the stats for offensive linemen and scores. I was running under the assumption it was all zeros.
You might see a tackle eligible play every once in a while, or a throwback to an eligible offensive lineman.
Maybe.
But that's just right play, right time, though, right? Right place, right time. He's living right. Find himself in a situation like that. Got his first start this year against Utah State. And in the 4th game of the season, finds himself with a touchdown. Who saw that one coming?
Crazy. Listen, this might be a 30-point game now, maybe 31 in a moment. But there have been some crazy plays and a lot of action in this game.
Get on the blue on a Thursday night, man. You never know. Never know.
Boise State's not used to these midweek games on the blue turf. 3rd game in the last 13 days. Big man touchdown on a Thursday night. Whoops. Right place, right time. You're totally correct to that one. This game's had a little bit of everything. Just a chaotic Thursday night game in the Mountain West. Alex Faust and Evan Moore here with you. And maybe the game ball will have to go to Nick Crabtree when all is said and done.
Folks, we got 21 special teams points. We've got a touchdown by the right tackle for Boise State in Nick Crabtree. And we're a little over halfway through the 3rd quarter. I'd stick around. It's only going to get better from here, right?
Oh, man. And we're giggling about it here a little bit. It's got a sting big time for Colorado State. A lot of the action tonight has come at their expense. Touchback in the end zone here. Sunday, a huge Fox NFL doubleheader starts with Tom Brady and the Bucs taking on the Panthers. Then America's Game of the Week, Russell Wilson and the Seahawks battle Jared Goff and the Rams, or other regional action. Check the local listings for the game in your area.
How about the year Russell Wilson's having? We'll slip up last week in Buffalo, but will this be the year we finally see him win the MVP trophy? How about DK Metcalf?
I mean, talk about a guy who's established himself, having a year. My Rams, yes, 5-3 competitive NFC West. That's it's not a must-win game, but boy, you want to start getting some division wins.
False start, number 85, offense, 5-yard penalty, 1st down.
Did I just hear you say my Rams?
Yeah.
You a Rams fan?
Yeah, why not?
Does that go back to LA Rams or more of a St. Louis?
I moved here and I joined the band.
Oh, I like it.
Sorry.
I like it.
Could be my Chargers on any other given Sunday. I got friends who work for both teams. So
I like it. Laker fan too?
Yeah, well,
you'll take it.
Sure. Let's not start talking about my Kings.
I think you might be a Kings fan. I'm just going to take a guess at that.
A little bit.
No Ducks?
We're not talking about them. They don't exist. All right, Centejo taken down here. 2nd down upcoming for Colorado State. Sam Whitney with the sack that last play. And we've talked about how much he's meant to linebacking core for Boise State. And it'll be another tackle for loss in the backfield. This time, Scott Matlock. Boy, what a story he is. Coming out of foster homes, lost both of his parents growing up. His father passed due to cancer, his mom and a heart condition. But out of foster care, gray-shirted here at Boise State, earned a full scholarship. And talking with Brian Harsin, he just glowing. Says he's the most inspirational guy on this team. He roots for him every single week. And why wouldn't you? Matlock coming up with a TFL moments ago. We'll step aside. Timeout on the field. Well, it's 10 straight conference wins for the Boise State Broncos. Hoping to make it 11 today. A team that has long been the dominant force since joining this league. Another stop by the Broncos defense. And a 3-and-out for the Rams.
Alex, overall, I've been impressed with Shane Irwin, Divine Obacheri, Scott Matlock up front. They're missing a lot of their depth tonight. A lot of guys behind. Some of the starters are not available, so these guys have had to play a lot of snaps. And again, we referenced earlier the guys they lost from a year ago. A lot of new faces on that Boise defensive front. It's been an impressive group tonight. They've gotten after the passer. They've been disruptive in the backfield. That's encouraging, too, if you're defensive coordinator Jeff Schmedding moving forward.
Williams lets it take a bounce. Stays in bounds. And then gets tackled at the 42-yard line. Well, Colorado State's proud history for the Rams. 127th anniversary of the program, and a little buddy of ours used to coach there. Look at the stash on Coach Meyer.
Bring it back.
Goodness.
Love it.
Urban Meyer and Steve Adazio go way back. Urban and Steve known each other for a while.
National title in Florida.
Yeah.
As the offensive line coach. Steve Adazio has offensive line coach written all over him. It's
yes.
Just a breed, right? Being around football this long, and offensive line coaches they even have a way they stand, the way they look at you, just their whole demeanor, whole disposition screams, I coach the offensive line. And that process that lies in front of him as well at Colorado State. He certainly feels like they took a step forward last week against Wyoming, but said, hey, Rome was not built in a day. This is going to take some time. And there were a lot of encouraging signs last week, and then come up and play Boise. He expected to get their best shot and said, this is the class of the conference and to be a good test for us. And special teams errors, third down mishaps. A lot of teaching moments for this team, for Steve Adazio moving forward.
I'd say there are about 10 players that flinched there. Adazio, a hard-nosed coach, 6 years at Boston College, 7 years, excuse me.
Number 73, offense.
One of
5-yard penalty.
6 new coaches to begin the season in the Mountain West. Then very recently, Frank Maile named interim head coach at Utah State.
A lot of intriguing names there. Todd Graham, the former Arizona State head coach, now at Hawaii. Danny Gonzalez, also the Arizona State D coordinator last year under Herm Edwards. Now with Rocky Long as his D coordinator at New Mexico.
Curious to see what happens at Utah State. There were such high hopes for Gary Anderson, his second stint there, but that quickly ended 3 games into their season. Incomplete pass here, bringing up 3rd and long.
Yeah, it's been an interesting road for Gary Anderson. Ever since leaving Utah State for the first time, going to Wisconsin, having some success there, heading over to Oregon State, and leaving in the middle of the season in 2017. Now back at Utah State. Rough start to this season after going only 7-6 a year ago with Jordan Love. Finds himself out of a job after going 0-3, and things just looking like they're heading in the wrong direction. And under Frank Maile, that team this weekend will see Fresno State. Interesting to see if they can bounce back.
Game you'll see on FS2. This route was almost jumped there, as the completion to C.T. Thomas will net him a first down.
C.T. Thomas did a nice job tonight. Obviously, Khalil Shakir is the featured weapon in this offense, and right there just got a good feel for zone. Hank Bachmeier not throwing him into that outside defender. Does a nice job slowing him down in that window.
Didn't give him the yardage, so bring up 4th and 1. Offense stays on the field as the quarter reaches the final couple minutes here. Jumbo package, and Bachmeier hands it off He'll get the first down with the sophomore running back, Danny Smith.
Interesting to see Danny Smith out there, number 37. Coaches were very high on him when they signed him. He's a redshirt sophomore, 6 foot, 216 pounds. And fans around Boise have been aware of what he's been capable of. He has not played this year. Getting a chance to get out there tonight in the absence of George Holani. And some depth issues at the position, getting a chance.
Flag on the last play. There was an illegal formation on Boise State. Microphone for the referee wasn't working, so a replay fourth down. It'll be a punt for the Broncos. Jonah Dalmas will boot this away. End-over-end kick. And Dante Wright, fair catch, out of bounds at the 13. Games to watch this weekend.
A couple good ones, right? Indiana and that Big Ten West looking like the best teams so far. Tilt against Michigan State. Oregon goes to Washington State, who's got an exciting young quarterback, and Oregon with their new quarterback as well. Looked pretty good against Stanford last week. And the Wisconsin Badgers will be an interesting thing to keep an eye on. We have not seen them play since week 1 when Graham Mertz went off. 20-21, 248 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions against Illinois. And they've had 2 games canceled in the meantime. And so this is the second time we'll see the Badgers in action try to challenge Indiana in that Big Ten West.
Their ranking has dropped 6 spots with those 2 cancellations. But I think the story in the Big Ten has to be Indiana. And what they've done. I mean, they're approaching, kind of best season in program history territory. And it's a shame that's happening in a year where fans in Bloomington can't enjoy it because they've played some tremendous football.
They had a chance to call an Indiana game in 2018, and Tom Allen was early in his tenure there. And I feel this way about BYU, too. A lot of times you call a game, and then a couple years later you see a team experience a lot of success, and you realize, I was saying a lot of those names 2 years ago, right, when they were a young football team. Michael Penix was hurt at the time. He's had an outstanding year at quarterback. And you realize those guys are now 2 years older. BYU's the same thing. Zach Wilson a couple years ago, and a lot of guys on that offense. And when they're still around 2 years later, and you see these guys grow up, as Riley Wimpy gets a great stop on 3rd down, you see these guys grow up in a system, you realize why that success happens as guys mature, and Tom Allen's done a nice job.
First time Indiana's been in the top 10 since the 1960s. And offense will come off the field here for a punt with the 3rd quarter winding down. Ryan Stonehouse is an All-American, and we were hoping we wouldn't have to call his name very much tonight for the sake of Colorado State. I'll take us to the end of the quarter. And Boise State, well, those 2 touchdowns in 17 seconds didn't get them off track. The Broncos on their way to a 3-0 start in the Mountain West. So punt to start the 4th quarter here for Colorado State. 1-1.
Find Avery Williams.
I'm looking for him.
Where's Waldo?
He's back receiving. I had to look downfield. He is receiving.
Gotta find him.
A low snap here. Got it off. Got one of the nation's leading punters, and this will roll to the 45. Well, it is after midnight somewhere. Mountain West after midnight. It's been a weird night, huh?
We've seen the full gamut tonight. We keep talking about where 26 is. He almost blocked that field goal as well. 2 block punts tonight. You see that one picked up by Kekauler Kaniho. Van Buren with the attempt on a touchdown for the Statue of Liberty play. Another block punt. And then the big man scores a touchdown too. Nick Crabtree on the outside after the Khalil Shakir fumble. What a night. We've seen it all.
I haven't seen an Avery Williams kick return for a touchdown yet. That would be the only thing that we're kind of missing in terms of storylines here. But yeah, the 1st quarter, that was just wild. 3 block kicks in this game.
Yeah. You'd think with Hank Bachmeier returning, that's all we would be talking about. And yes, they've been efficient offensively for the most part, especially in the first half, converting 7 of 9 third downs against a defense that was really good on third down last week. But the story has been the mishaps on special teams and the third down execution of the Boise offense.
Bachmeier hit as he throws here, and it's juggled and incomplete. He wound up with the ball, but he was out of bounds.
Yeah, we've seen Hank Bachmeier step in and make some nice throws under pressure, and you're going to see the pressure off the edge here from Scott Patchen, who's done a really nice job tonight getting to the quarterback, but ball is still put in a place that is certainly catchable, and Khalil Shakir can't bring it down. The tight coverage by Rashad Ajayi.
I wonder if Boise would want to get Cade Finnegan in here just to get him a few more reps after last week. Understandably, a little bit of a deer in headlights situation. As Bachmeier takes another shot, but completes the pass to C.T. Thomas. This is a Boise team that would love to have him available for a full year.
Yeah, if you're Chuck Heater, this is where you got to be careful defensively, because if you're going to show an all-out blitz with no free safety help in the middle of the field, cover zero basically, man-to-man across the board with no safety help, you can't show it to Hank Bachmeier for 6 seconds before the ball is snapped. The reason that ball took so long to get snapped is he's changing the play at the line of scrimmage and realizes the coverage he's seeing. Typically, you're going to see them kind of disguise things before the ball snapped and roll to something different. Chuck Heater stays with the same look the whole time, and Hank Bachmeier gashes him for a first down.
Scott Patchen's put together a nice night for Colorado State as well. 4 tackles, a sack, 2 quarterback hurries. Appeared in 30 games for Miami, number 1 in white. And even though he was number 2 or number 3 in the depth chart here, he's fit in nicely and become a natural leader. One of 6 transfers into the program this year for Colorado State.
He's an experienced player too. He got 30 appearances at Miami. Been a big addition for this team so far. Like you said, arrived in June. Only transfer that arrived early in January was Cam Reddy, their leader on the offensive line at center. But they've been the beneficiary of some transfers this year. We talked about on the offensive line from Boston College, the 3 interior offensive linemen. Talked about Scott Patchen as well from Miami, and also Brian Polinde as well, the tight end position from Miami. So
these 3 on the offensive line, though, they're hoping to be able to establish the run game with a couple of guys that Dazio is familiar with at Boston College.
Yeah, he says these guys get it, right? And you see at the bottom of your screen there, Cam Reddy, offensive lineman. He's their center, and he's quickly become the leader of this group. Just has a good understanding of what Coach Dazio wants after spending time with him at Boston College. It's a group that'll continue to get better over the course of the year, too.
I believe the second push may have gotten him. First down. Boise State, meanwhile, this is getting back to business on their home turf. They have not lost back-to-back games in 4 years. It's only happened 3 times under Brian Harsin, and so rarely do they lose on this field. That's why last week was such a shock how lopsided the score was, even given the context of the quarterback being unavailable. Boise was outplayed by BYU. Every facet. This is a team that expects to win here. 14 conference titles since joining FBS football in 1996.
See Hank Bachmeier there getting up and talking to his left guard, Garrett Curran. Just mixing it up a little bit after the snap with one of the
play. Personal foul, number 69, offense. 15-yard penalty, second down.
Yeah, after the play there, you see left guard Garrett Curran mixing it up there towards the bottom. Oh, going with the headbutt too on top of, looked like Devin Phillips. And right after that, when he stood up, quarterback Hank Bachmeier, now keep in mind, this is a sophomore, runs over to his redshirt sophomore left guard and gets in his face. Likely telling him, look, man, we don't need it, right? I mean, you get ejected from this game, you're not available the first half of next week, and that's a problem, right? So, good leadership there by the sophomore.
Second and 25 here. Last thing you need is guys to be put in situations where they're getting hurt. as Van Buren carries for 6.
And we know the way in college football, too, how much the head and neck area is protected these days. And the last thing you want to do at the end of a play is be throwing headbutts at somebody with the way that stuff is officiated these days. Lucky that wasn't reviewed.
Bachmeier under duress again. He's been hit a bunch of times tonight.
Well, look, Colorado State, that time, Manny Jones coming off the edge. They'll move him around quite a bit on the defensive line. They bring him on a twist there. It's not recognized by the left tackle. You got to be careful here if you're Boise State, because that's the quarterback where you've had issues when he's not available. And we know Jack Sears is not available tonight either. And at some point, up 52-21, you got to think about getting him out of the football game. Because Colorado State's going to continue to bring pressure, and if they keep getting to him, probably not worth having him on the football field.
Sacked 3 times. He's been hit 8 times in this game. This will be down. Nope. Couldn't get it. Thought they were going to be able to get it at the 1-yard line, but alas, it is a touchback. So we'll step aside with the Broncos in cruise control now. Well, Boise State is maybe more known for their turf, but obviously the Fiesta Bowl a couple of years ago brought them to national prominence. But best home winning percentage since 2000 in FBS football. They updated it recently. 6th edition. Some schools, primarily FCS schools, have tried to imitate it, but I don't think anyone's really duplicated the success they've had here, as Colorado State has a big play with their big tight end, Trey McBride, into Boise State territory.
Any truth to the rumor of it looking like a body of water for birds to fly down and fly into the turf?
I don't know.
Is that just the urban legend?
This is a little too blue for that.
I think I've been told that's not true, but that's a great story to tell, right? Hey, before practice starts, we're going to get the birds off the turf.
It's a 42-yard play.
Ineligible receiver downfield, number 85. Offense, he was covered up by the end. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Colorado, it's Steve Adazio, is it?
So they're saying the receiver was on the line of scrimmage. The tight end, Trey McBride, was covered up by the outside receiver, making him an ineligible receiver to go downfield and catch a ball. You might be wondering, how's the guy that catch the football? And Steve Adazio is not happy about it. And really, this is a communication thing. The outside receiver needs to indicate right here. So they're saying these guys are on the line of scrimmage, which makes him ineligible. I believe that's where Trey McBride is in the formation. Yes, exactly where he is. He comes late and becomes an outlet for the quarterback. And that's something where the outside receiver needs to look at the official. There's a hand motion you give to an official, usually if you're off the line of scrimmage. That's a communication thing. The official will usually acknowledge, okay, I see you, you're off the line, we got it. Because right there from that angle, it did look like he was covering up the tight end, which makes the tight end an illegal downfield receiver. And he needs to stand and block, otherwise the penalty.
A lot of stuff to clean up. Colorado State, top to bottom.
It's interesting, too. You see every time receivers get on the line of scrimmage, they either point to the official right at him. You see up top right there? They point to the official right away saying, I'm on the ball. Or they take their hand and throw it kind of behind him to say, hey, I'm off the ball. Every receiver does it. It's a habit, right? And so there's really no excuse for an official to say, hey, you were on when you were supposed to be off, because anytime you're off, you always look at the official and he nods and says, okay, I see you. I got you. I see your hand motion. They know what it means too. So again, that's a communication thing. There's no excuse for that.
Ty McCullough, receiver. As Centejo steps up in the pocket, and his pass is incomplete, intended for Brian Polinde of a transfer from Miami. 4th down, and the Rams will punt it once more.
Had some success early with Todd Centejo when he entered the game, in the quarterback run game, in the read game. Getting the ball in space to Ajon Vivens, their running back, but much like their first game of the season against Fresno State. Just not much success throwing the football. Right now, 1 of 3 for 21 yards and a touchdown. They got a blown coverage to Trey McBride over on the side for his 4th touchdown of the year.
Williams cut down to the 38 here. Stonehouse got that punting average back up with that kick. 47-yard punt for the All-American. FS1 college football is sponsored by Rocket Mortgage. Boise State at 2-1, the one loss out of conference, so still unbeaten in conference play. They'll only play 7 league games. Everybody else will be on 8. Colorado State at 1-1. And as we suspected, Cade Finnegan will come into the game here for Boise State.
San Jose State, once again, we mentioned it earlier, unbeaten for the first time, and 3-0 for the first time in 38 years.
Yeah. I love it for that program. They have Hawaii this weekend. They have a pretty good offense.
Yeah, a lot of that too. When you think about 38 years being 3-0, oftentimes they'll start their season with some pretty tough non-con games, right? That's not going to happen this year, but as far as the conference race goes, key to remember, there are no Mountain, there are no West divisions this year. It's just conference-wide. The 2 best teams from a win percentage standpoint, given they won't all play the same amount of games, from a win percentage standpoint, the top 2 teams will meet in the Mountain West Conference Championship game.
Some running room here for Danny Smith once again. So I mentioned earlier, Boise will not play Nevada.
Right.
But they will host San Jose State November 28th. That's just 2 weeks from now. And what could be a game that determines who plays in the Mountain West Championship game.
I think generally in a year like this, if you've had some early success like San Jose State, they deserve credit for that. Brent Brennan's done a nice job there in building that program and turning things around. Beat a San Diego State team last week after losing Nick Starkel early, their quarterback. But the real barometer, like we said, is getting a chance to play Boise State, right? The class of the conference, decades of dominance. That's what this team is all about. And I'm anxious to see San Jose State get a chance to get a crack at them. You mentioned Nevada, too. Nevada's an impressive football team, right? I mean, what they're doing offensively, things are really coming together under Jay Norvell. Carson Strong, their quarterback, has been outstanding. Hasn't thrown an interception, and I believe now it's over 285 pass attempts. Romeo Dubs is one of the best playmakers in not only in this conference, but in the entire country.
Oh, I put him up
what
there,
he's been able to show. So it's there's definitely some intrigue coming down the stretch, and you know, we could see a Nevada-Boise State matchup in the conference title game, and boy, would that be exciting. Your
Spartans receiving votes in the poll for the first time in 8 years. It's a nice thing to see for that program. I say your Spartans tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
I know you're going to
well, they've had some moments too, right? I mean, I believe it was last year they go on the road and beat Arkansas. So there, and I remember the press conference after that game with Brent Brennan on the field and how emotional he was and some of the things he said about building the program. Just a quality head coach, quality person. It's really awesome to see that, right? A program that has not had a ton of success, a guy come in and build what he's building. So you certainly hope the best for them because it's a great story.
See what Cade Finnegan does here on a 3rd and 7 with the clock under 6 minutes to go. And what is shaping up to be Boise's 3rd win of the year. One of 4 quarterbacks used this season. And a timeout is taken. We will step aside. Well, we mentioned how Boise has owned the West. 837 winning percentage. That's the best in FBS football since the year 2000. 18 consecutive trips to bowl games, those 3 wins of the Fiesta Bowl, and 12 conference titles. So since they elevated the program to FBS football, they have 14 overall conference titles. Oklahoma has 13, Ohio State has 12, Florida State 11. I mean, this is, you want to talk about owning things. Joining the Mountain West in the last decade.
Well, Steve Adazio, too, when we were talking to him this week about getting a chance to play Boise, it's Colorado State almost had a chance to pick that off. He said, look, I mean, this is a nationally recognized team, right? And when you think of the group of 5, the 5 FBS divisions that are outside the Power 5, There's a few that stand out every year, right? Cincinnati, University of Central Florida, but Boise's been longer than all of them, is standing out amongst the group of 5 schools as nationally relevant each and every year on the national landscape of college football. And Boise they're the standard in the group of 5. There's, like I said, UCF has made pushes lately. Cincinnati's a really good football team this year. They're a top 10 team under Luke Fickell, but as far as group of 5 goes, Boise State is the standard. There's no question about that.
Pooch kick here. They're going to go more than 20 yards. Give him a little roll there. Late 4th. No winner last week, so Fox Bet Super 6 is giving you another chance to win $1 million of Terry Bradshaw's money this week. You can play for free right now. Download the Fox Bet Super 6 app. Make your picks for Sunday's games for a shot at $1 million. Final 5 minutes and change here in Boise, Idaho. Albertson Stadium, house of horrors for visiting teams for the most part. Yeah, that's certainly proved true here tonight. Boise State all over Colorado State in the first quarter of this game. It's 21-0. Special teams the focus. Centejo knocked down here. And this Boise program, wonder, okay, maybe last week was just a blip. With the quarterback out, running back out. Centejo nowhere to go. Caigo still in the game.
Yeah, Alex, as far as where Boise goes from here, as we see them get some pressure here on Centejo once again in the middle of the defense, you've mentioned it a couple times. I think it's well put. It's important to contextualize that loss last week against BYU, and Brian Harson's not going to make excuses, right? But we know in 2020 how many challenges come about and how many challenges present themselves. And I think one thing that's key to point out too is you got a team in their 3rd game against BYU, and Boise playing against a team that was in their 8th game. Yeah. Right? They're a lot further along as far as what that team is, and not to mention just how talented they are as well, with Zach Wilson as their quarterback. And that's a group that's grown up together, right? So they were already behind them in a number of different ways just from an experience standpoint this year. Then you lose some key players, quarterback position, running back position, on defense. That was a tough night, and the hard part for Brian Harsin is he doesn't want to make excuses, but this goes down in the books, right? This is on his resume, and I think that one was really hard to stomach because he's not going to sit there with us and make excuses, but he also knows why that happened. And I for one, or I think many people would feel this way, would still like to see a full-strength Boise team play a BYU team, in a normal year. I think those two teams match up really well, and it's hard to look at last week and say that's indicative of where each one of these teams is right now.
How about BYU, though? You think they have one? I mean, they still need to get a couple more games, it seems like.
They need to, look, I mean, again, Boise was by far the best team they played this year, and Boise was very shorthanded, right? And that game was 10-7 with about 3 minutes left in the 2nd quarter.
Yep.
It's still difficult. As good as I think Zach Wilson is, and as good as I think some of those skill players are offensively, it's difficult to draw any strong conclusions from that game because now BYU starts to move forward, and still there's question marks about who they played, right? And so the topic is going to gravitate towards eventually whether or not they could be one of those 4 teams in the college football playoff, right? If Alabama's there, if Clemson's there, if Ohio State is there, could they make a case for number 4? And at this point, it's hard enough when you're not a Power 5 team. But if you're going to be a group of 5 team, and I know they're independent, but they technically, and they find themselves playing Power 5 schedules quite a bit for roughly half the year, but it's really tough if you're not in a Power 5 conference. And UCF's success a few years ago with Scott Frost, I think, was a good indicator that it may never happen, right, outside of a really crazy year, which, by the way, this year could be that, right?
Have you looked at 2020 lately?
That's right. We don't know how many games some of these teams are going to play. The winner of the ACC may end up playing 12 total games, and the winner of the Big Ten may end up playing only 9 games.
Notre Dame might be the winner of the ACC.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. If there's a year for a window for BYU because of cancellations, and it's this year. We just don't know. And look at all the cancellations that we have this weekend, right? These are top 10 teams that Are these?
These are the games for the top 10. Yeah, but you have 3 cancellations of top 10 teams.
Alabama. Yeah. Ohio State canceled at Maryland.
Yep.
I think now we're at 48 or 49 postponements or cancellations on the season.
Well, 2 things. 1, COVID is just going crazy around the country. 2, all the conferences are back. So all the numbers from the beginning of the year where some games are getting pushed back. There are bound to be more cancellations now. As this could be brought in.
And the key thing to remember, too, is not every conference has given themselves flexibility to make up games, right? I mean, we saw in the Big 12, they gave themselves a little bit of flexibility, but the Big 10 and the Pac-12, it's tight.
Yep.
So games that don't happen, they're just saying, hey, these are canceled unless they make some decision to move the championship game back, which at this point, we don't see that happening. So there's a hard stop on these conference seasons for the Big 10 and the Pac-12. And some of these teams may only, like Cal, for example, first 2 games look like they're going to be canceled. They may only end up playing 5 games by the time the regular season's over and maybe getting a 6th game in. It's just really difficult to evaluate them. So in a crazy year, you never know if you're BYU. Just stay at it.
Punt goes out of bounds. Hey, big slate, though, of games that are happening this weekend here on Fox. It begins with TCU, West Virginia, big noon. Kickoff begins in the morning hours. USC, what a crazy miracle comeback that was against Arizona State last week. They get the Wildcats this week, and then in prime time, Oregon and Washington State.
USC and Arizona State elect to be the first teams in the Pac-12 that play in that 9 a.m. Pacific window.
I love it.
A big noon window for Fox, and boy, did we get a good one, right? ASU appeared they had outplayed them for the majority of the game, and USC scores 2 touchdowns in about 30 or 35 seconds on the arm of Keaton Slovis, recovered an onside kick. Keaton Slovis converts a 4th and 13 and a 4th and 9, mix in an onside kick recovery in there too. And ASU, which appeared to be in great shape in this year 4 under Herm Edwards, drops a tough one, right? And now USC's in the driver's seat in the Pac-12 South in an abbreviated season, maybe on a collision course to play Oregon in the North.
Yeah,
Very
that would
possible.
be something. How would you handle 9 a.m.? Would you wake up that early? 5 a.m. wake-up call, most likely?
I think the Pac-12 should embrace the 9 a.m. kickoffs. I really do. Because here's the thing. We talked briefly to USC head coach Clay Helton after the game, and I kind of joked to him and said, Clay, you get a chance now to have the rest of the day to yourself. It was like 12:30 in the afternoon Pacific time, and he thought to himself, he goes, because, a lot of times people complain about playing night games because they got to sit around all day long, and they get anxiety, and they just want to go out and play. I think it's a good thing for the Pac-12. I think it's certainly doable, and a lot of the feedback after that initial game between Arizona State and USC was very positive. Each team turned the ball over a little bit. I don't think it had anything to do with the time of day, and it was an exciting game.
Honestly, this is a 6 o'clock kick, Mountain Time.
Yeah.
I don't mind that at all.
Yeah.
That's for some of these midweek games that can get a little bit bonkers.
Right.
It's, maybe you'll see some stuff adopted out of the pandemic that sticks. I would have to think the earlier kick times would be one of them. Although, self-promotion. You could watch Pac-12 After Dark on 11 o'clock Eastern time Saturday night,
I think one of the other interesting things about football in 2020 during a pandemic and being uncertain week to week about whether games are going to go off, and you have guys opting out. All these guys are going to get their eligibility back for next year. This season does not count against eligibility. Is programs that are building, right? Like Utah State, for example, now needs to go find another head coach. Colorado State's a good example. Steve Adazio gets there this year. There are 6 new head coaches in the Mountain West Conference. Is how these coaches looked at 2020. And Steve Adazio said, look, I'm being realistic here. A big part of me is, this is a building year, right? And especially with all these variables and having to take everything in stride, it's a really good opportunity to get young guys snaps and not burn a year of eligibility. You're not even using a redshirt year. It's like this year never happened when it comes to eligibility, and that's such an advantage for coaches like Steve Adazio that are trying to build their programs and trying to find out what they have on their rosters.
This is their, I don't even want to call them second string. It's kind of a 1A, 1B situation right now at Colorado State with Todd Centejo. That is definitely a 1A situation with Boise, and Hank Bachmeier put together a solid performance here tonight. 16 of 29, 202 yards. And 1 throw for a touchdown. sophomore, true sophomore, who will, again, not have to burn a year. Come back with another year of experience under his belt, regardless of whether they might be on track to get to the Mountain West Championship game this season.
Yeah, that eligibility thing is interesting, right? You think about their stud linebacker, that stand-up defensive end position, that hybrid position. Sam Whitney, who's stepping in, taking the place of Curtis Weaver from a year ago. Sam Whitney's in his 6th year, right? He got a 6th year due to injury, and this year won't count. So in theory, he's going to be able to come back for a 7th year. I just hope he gets out of there with a couple Masters degrees, all right? That's what take advantage of your time.
Take advantage of the degree. Maybe you get a PhD when all set.
That's right.
By the end of that.
Could be a surgeon when this thing's all said and done. Maybe he'll solve his own orthopedic issues.
Oh, a well-earned win for Boise State. Game ball probably goes to their special teams. 3 block kicks, all 3 resulting in touchdowns. All 3 in the first half has set the tone for a night that wound up all in the hands of the team wearing orange tonight. And that streak continues. 5+ years now without having lost back-to-back home games. Boise State, we wondered if they had the bounce back in them. They proved it tonight.
Well, I think it shows the character of this football team. And these guys, all the guys on this roster, were excited to get their quarterback back tonight and defend this blue turf, right? That is something they take a lot of pride in. And they did just that. They were outstanding in all 3 phases of the game. Obviously, most notably special teams, but Hank Bachmeier in his return was efficient. Defense did a lot of really good things up front, a front 7 that's got a lot of new faces and relatively unproven. A lot of encouraging things here. Big bounce-back game for the Broncos.
No doubt. Boise State improves to 3-1 on the season, 3-0 in Mountain West play. Colorado State drops to 2-1. Our final score, Boise State 52, Colorado State 21. For Evan Moore and our entire Fox Sports crew, this is Alex Faust bidding you a good evening from Boise, Idaho.